Good, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It is now 6 p.m. on June 22nd, 2026. This is the City Council Budget Workshop. Kathy, would you please, let's do the pledge first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Bean.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Harper.
Here.
Councilmember Shirley. Here. Vice Mayor Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Riefler.
Here.
City Attorney Trask.
Here. All right, thank you, Kathy. We'll just roll right into our first item, which is a presentation from Gemini Engineering concerning the 22nd Street Bridge. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening.
For those who haven't met you, would you please introduce yourself?
Keith Pack, Gemini Engineering, St. Petersburg. So, as City Council will recall, Gemini previously presented background information regarding FDOT Scout Critical Designation for the 22nd Street Bridge. We also talked about just the bridge inspection history, some of the previous scour analyses, and so the DOT's plan of action, that whole process. Since then, after some discussions, we were authorized to coordinate a structural and scour assessment, and for the intent of just better understanding what the current conditions are, and really at the end of the day, what the options are, what the alternatives are. So in doing so, we have on our team Ayers Associates, David Johnson here. He represents our structural engineering team member. And the presentation that he will provide City Council today will touch on some of these key elements as part of his assessment, which is, obtaining the bathymetric survey to evaluate what that scour conditions are, as well as the history from the prior assessments from DOT, and ultimately he will step into what those alternatives are to either repair or to replace. And very importantly, it's what is that estimated service life. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to David Johnson.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who are you contracted with?
The city?
The city, okay.
Yes.
And then they are,
Our team member.
okay, and their scope of work is?
Structural engineering.
Okay, and your scope of work is?
In terms of the scour analysis, the design, and other stormwater elements.
Gotcha, thank you.
For some reason, it's not displaying what's on the screen.
I might have to select reshare and how you share it. That's mine.
So it would be,
This is for an update.
share again.
You know which one it is.
This one.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is David Johnson. I'm with Ayers Associates. I'm a senior structural engineer with 16 years of experience, 9 of which has been at Ayers Associates. Today we'll be talking about bridge number 155200, which is at 22nd Street over Goat Heads Canal. The bridge location is located 0.02 miles east of Gulf Boulevard, as you can see here on the screen with the yellow thumbprint. And today's agenda, we'll start off with some background on the bridge. Then we'll get into existing conditions that we observed during our site visit. Next, we'll get into the rehab alternative, followed by the replacement alternative, and concluding with the recommendations. The bridge was built in 1965. There's been several structural repairs that have been performed since that date, with the last major repairs being done about 15 years ago now, is my understanding. The structure length is 40 feet long, and the bridge width is 29 feet. The superstructure type is a pre-stressed concrete girder, and the substructure is a reinforced concrete bend cap with pre-stressed concrete piles. The bulkhead walls, which are located behind the indents, are precast concrete. And at the bottom here are some FHWA MBI ratings. Basically what you're seeing here is if you have a rating that's 6 and above for your deck, super, sub, that generally means that the bridge is in good condition. So that's what we're looking at here. I did want to make a note that some of the piles for the substructure are jacketed, and I'll show some photos of that a little bit later. Also, we have our sufficiency rating, which is at 63.1. Essentially what this means, it's a scale from 0 to 100, and anything above 50 is generally good condition.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sufficiency rate, that's not about terms or weight, or what does the sufficiency term show me?
The sufficiency rating is automatically calculated. It's based on a pretty long equation, but it takes into consideration these different NBI values among other values as well.
So how is that different than the health index?
The health index is another equation that's automatically calculated. It is generally used a little bit less, but you can use them both in conjunction. I don't want to get too caught up on the numbers, because there's actually some changes being done at the federal level currently, and those two are actually going away going forward.
Can I ask one more question? So does the health index of 86.96, does that represent that it's 86% healthy?
That is, I wouldn't interpret it that way,
You would
but
not.
it's still a scale of 0 to 100. So in general, the closer to 100 you get, the better.
So that's a good layman's example.
It's good.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yes.
The question I have is, I know the pilings are jacketed.
Yes.
Back in 05, 06, there was some work done on the bridge. Now, what the condition of those pilings were then, that they had to be jacketed, do you have any information on that? What the severity possibly would be?
We were not given any information or plans. I will show some photos of those pile jackets to see what kind of condition they're currently in. But they're a pretty common repair for a bridge this age in an extremely aggressive environment with the salt water.
I know for a fact that it was downweighted from the original weight capacity of the bridge was downweighted.
Yes, I'll be getting into that on the next slide.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to derail you.
All right, so our scour history of the bridge. This bridge is considered an unknown foundation, which means simply that there are not as-built plans and or pile driving records. So with this, that's just a category that's assigned nationally. By itself doesn't necessarily mean anything, it just means we don't have that information. The bridge is also considered scour critical, and we have not, in the past, there has not been any calculations done. That was typically not done for a single span bridge. So the scour critical status is something that you will only be able to change if scour countermeasures are installed.
So what is scour critical?
So scour critical, essentially what that means is at some, so the ground line or the channel line, at some elevation, the bridge may become unstable and it could fail. Typically, it would go through a process that was defined in the Unknown Foundation program, and it's a 4-step process, with the 3rd step being a structural analysis to determine what that elevation would be. So that would determine, okay, you have, let's say, 10 feet of scour that can happen before the bridge is considered unstable, and at that point something needs to be done. And all of that information would be included in the plan of action. For a single span bridge like this that was considered lower risk, the procedure is to essentially not run that calculation. So we do not have an exact scour critical elevation for this bridge.
Okay, so in my world, scour is normally the undercutting of a foundation, but that's not what that is in this case.
That is what that is, yep.
That is what that is?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so what's been measured in the past, and this is in the bridge inspection report, there has been 7.1 feet of scour according to the 2013 measurements, but there has been no significant scour observed since. And by significant, I mean anything greater than 2 feet. The plan of action that I understand we've already talked about, so I won't go into too much detail there, but it's going to be handled as a part of an FDOT inspection through the emergency response. AIRS has actually been handling the routine bridge inspections through the D7 bridge asset management contract, so we did perform the inspection last go-round. But that is something that FDOT is going to handle. It's not something the city needs to worry about. They'll just be handed that information if it happens. And this plan of action kicks off if you have a tidal storm surge of 8 feet or greater. Moving on to our existing conditions, the bridge is posted. I won't spend too much time on what these postings mean, essentially because they're not required. So based on the actual load rating, it does not need to be posted. The bridge has been most likely chosen to stay posted by the city just to protect it from higher level of loads. There are 3 piles that are jacketed. Here in the right-hand corner, you can see what one of those jackets look like. It's essentially, I would think about it as a Band-Aid. It's a concrete Band-Aid over the pile. There are structural jackets that actually will transfer the load through it, and there's non-structural jackets that would not. Since we don't have plans, we don't know what type of jacket it is, but that's not uncommon. The fact that the jackets are looking to be in relatively good condition and they're 20 years old is a good sign. Some of the deficiencies that we saw during our site visit include spalls and delaminations. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner here, right here, this is what a delam looks like. And essentially what's happening here is when the rebar that's inside of the concrete corrodes, it expands. It expands up to 3 times its original size and volume. So once that steel has expanded enough, it's going to cause that layer of concrete on the outside to start separating from the rest of the structure. And once it gets bad enough, that piece will pop off and become a spall, and you'll have exposed rebar. So that can be a safety concern, especially if you have boaters underneath. If that pops off at the wrong moment, it could hit somebody and cause injury.
So now in some of those photos are those previous repairs?
Yeah. Correct. This is a previous repair right here.
So did that previous repair fail?
At this point, it has failed, correct. And we are seeing spalls on the underside of the deck, on beams, abutment caps, piles, pile jackets, bulkhead walls. It's not severe or significant, but we do have isolated cases. There are also cracks and spalls / delams that we can see here. Here's another case in the bottom left-hand corner where you can see my arrow. This is another failed patch that's going to delaminate in the future. And what you're seeing here on the bottom right-hand corner with the pile jacket, this is called corrosion bleed out. It's the same thing that I've already talked about, where the steel within that jacket is corroding, and that corrosion essentially comes through a crack, and you're gonna see that rust.
Are these reinforced concrete beams or pre-stressed concrete beams, you know?
The beams for the superstructure are pre-stressed concrete. The pile jackets are also going, I should say the piles are pre-stressed as well, and the jackets are just reinforced concrete. So black bar is typically what it's called.
So basically, you have a freshwater life of 75 to 100 years.
Correct. I can get into that in a little bit.
Saltwater, knock off about what, 25%, 35%?
I'll get into that in a little bit. Yep. All right, moving on to our rehab alternative. We would include crack and spall repairs for all the deficiencies that we saw. We would also include installing a new pile jacket at pile 1-4. I can get into the numbering if we wish, but the point is we would only need it on one more pile. And if the city would like to remove the bridge off the scour critical list, we would need to install scour countermeasures throughout the channel. Since we do not have a specific scour critical elevation, this is really the only way that we can protect the bridge and remove it off that scour critical list. Yes?
Is there a reason that we need to?
That is based on liability, so it's up to the city's decision. DOT is not going to force you to remove it off of the list.
So when you said a new pile jacket on 1-4, is it because it already has one that's failed?
No, that's a pile without a pile
It'd be an
jacket.
initial.
Correct. Yep. And the process to remove it from the scour critical list will be once design plans are complete, they would then be taken to District 7. This is something we've done a number of times. So District 7 will review it and they'll agree that, hey, this is going to remove it off of the list. So you don't need to worry about any risk in terms of doing the work and then not getting the payday at the end. Moving on to our bridge replacement alternative. Here is a typical section, cross-section cut through the bridge, what it would look like. So this is designing up to current design standards per FDOT. We would have two 11-foot lanes, so slightly wider than what is currently out there, two 2-foot shoulders, a 6-foot sidewalk on one side, and 36-inch solid concrete barriers per the FDOT standard plans. This comes out to a bridge width of approximately 34.9 feet.
And what do we have now?
Currently, I will jump back to that.
29.
We have 29 feet. And I also want to jump back here to show you the structural length is 40 feet, which will be coming up. Something to compare to. So the bridge replacement would have a bridge length of 60 feet. And the reason we're going longer than the existing is because we need to avoid the existing pile locations. What will oftentimes happen with these old piles is you'll go to try to pull them, they're embedded 40, 50, 60 feet, and they'll just snap. So we do not want to run into problems during construction, so we're just going to move those piles out further so we avoid any issues. The superstructure consists of pre-stressed precast concrete beams laid side to side. As you see here, this is all FDOT standards, and the benefit of this system is that the cast-in-place topping that goes on top, we do not need the contractor does not need any temporary false work. So they can essentially just pour it directly on top and then screed from there. So it makes construction very easy, it's all precast. We would require phase construction at this site because we're going to need to maintain access, a one-way access minimum to the residential homes, since this is the only way in and out. I also wanted to point out that we will be unable to raise the vertical profile significantly to meet what I'm sure is going to be the design standards, where you have essentially what it's called is 2-foot freeboard from your design stormwater elevation, and that's to allow debris to flow through. This is pretty common in these types of situations where you have residential homes, commercial properties located right next to the bridge. There's really nothing you can do. So what we would design is something called a superstructure tie down, and that's going to be a piece of rebar connecting the substructure to the superstructure. So if we ever do get a case where the water raises above the top of the bridge, that superstructure is not going to pick up and float away. We would also be replacing the bulkhead walls at the same time. This is really the only way that we will want to handle that. And then I did want to point out that since the new bridge and bulkhead wall would be designed for that design storm event in the scour, we would not need to install any scour countermeasures in this alternative. Moving on to our recommended alternative, it would be the bridge rehab. As I've mentioned, the bridge is in good condition. For an older bridge that was designed, in this case, in the early 1960s, it's pretty common to have a service life of approximately 75 years. A newer bridge, you would have a longer service life, closer to 100 years, but this is generally what we've seen. So the fact that the bridge is located in an extremely aggressive environment, in this case, we really haven't seen any accelerated loss of that service life. We still expect an extra 50 to 20 years remaining service life from here, provided we make these repairs now. There are no critical deficiencies on the bridge, and as I mentioned, the bridge does not require posting per structural calcs at this point. This alternative is assuming that the repairs that we are recommending would be done in the next 5 years or so. And as I mentioned, if the city wants to remove the bridge from the scour critical list, we recommend installing those scour countermeasures now, given the need to install pile jackets. If we're doing work in the water, we might as well get the permit for both and get that work done as efficiently and as cost efficient as possible. As you can see in the bottom table here is going to be a cost estimate where we're looking at not only the construction cost, but our professional design service fees, as well as your CEI or your construction observation costs. And you can see here the rehab alternative is essentially 10% of the bridge replacement alternative. So based on all this information, we think the best recommendation here would be the bridge rehab. And with that, I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation and open up for questions.
Council?
Yes.
Seawater, freshwater, you're going to get into that expectancy length?
Yes. So as I mentioned, older bridges were typically designed for a 75-year service life. What you do on the design side to accommodate that additional aggressive environment, those chlorides, essentially, I think of concrete as a really dense sponge, right? So the more room you have, the more concrete cover to the rebar, it's going to take those chlorides longer to penetrate, to leach through the concrete and get to the rebar. Once it gets to the rebar, the corrosion starts, and there's really not much you can do to stop that process. So the point is that on the design side, typically what you'll do is you'll increase the concrete cover, and that's going to give a bridge in a saltwater environment a longer life. And so in this case, it seems that the design was done correctly, and we do expect to see that full 75-year service life on this bridge. And that's where we get the 15 to 20 years remaining service life.
I do have a question. So besides the recommended jacket on the one pier, the rest of the damage that you see, are those all previous repairs, or was there anything new?
There is new. Yep, there are new cracks, there's new spalls, and that is to be expected for a bridge this old.
When were they done?
Yes.
The question I have is, I live on that island, and my house was built in '58, although you say the bridge was built in '65. So what did they have there before the bridge was built?
A ferry.
Probably so. So is that accurate? That's the question I
Is that
have.
what you want to go back to?
Pardon me?
I gotta tell you, that's a pretty good question. So is a causeway an option?
For a span length this size, I think a bridge is going to be your best alternative when we go to replace it.
Because if you fill it in with dirt,
You're not going to be able to fill it in with dirt. The regulatory agencies will not allow you to.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm sorry, your question?
When were the repairs done last?
So my understanding is the last repairs were done about 15 years ago. We just covered that the pile jackets were installed about 20 years ago now.
Those are the most major repairs, or every 2 years we get the inspection report and do the installing and the cover-up repairs.
One more question. Grant money, is it available for this?
We've been looking, Keith can speak to that a little bit. For the FDOT grant we've been looking at,
Yeah, grant-wise, we've evaluated FDEM grants. We've actually submitted for FDEM grants and for DEP grants as well. And now we are moving towards the FDOT grants that David had suggested we try. So this is our third, fourth one, I think, at this point.
What type of money are you talking about?
We were looking at for the repair, not for replacement.
I'd rather see if we can get it replaced.
Is that because we can get another 20 years out of it and replacement doesn't make sense? We can't justify it through a
Just-
grant process?
Just cost. At this point, we were attempting to, get the bridge off of the Scout Critical list, and the easier to lower the cost and more better shot at getting the actual grant.
Thank you.
Question I have that we didn't get an answer on, is that the actual build from 1965?
So that is a good question. That is a common question on these older bridges. All I can say is the information that FDOT has that put these reports together in the first place go back to the mid-'80s. That's when the bridge inspection program started. And typically they would have, DOT would have requested to see any documentation that would have been had from the city at that point. So I would say they're fairly accurate for a bridge this age. If we were looking back at like 1930s, 1920s, then I think it's a little less reliable. But in general, I think you can feel comfortable that it would be sometime in the 1960s.
I would say, based on the original deeds that were presented to me, that whole area was subdivided or designed back mid-50s. So I would think it would be 1955.
So the one thing we do have in terms of history is pre-stressing was not commonly used until the early 60s. So there
should be some record somewhere of a bridge that was removed.
Correct. So typically there was documentation at some point. They probably got a hold of it in the 80s, and then somebody lost the paperwork along the way, and so that's why we really stick to the number that DOT has had on the bridge this entire time. But I do just mention that, yeah, the pre-stressing was just not done in the 50s. It really started in the very late in 1958, 1959, but it was not commonly used until the early 60s.
Well, 1958 is when my house was built. It was one of the first on the island.
Sure.
But,
So do you feel then that these repairs will last then 15 to 20 years?
Yes. Yes,
No.
and I think the fact that the biggest issue here is really any element that is coming into contact with the salt water. So that's going to be your piles. And the current jackets have lasted 20 years. They're starting to show signs of wear. But if we install a new jacket, if we repair those jackets, then I would feel pretty confident that the remaining service life will give us an extra 15 to 20 years.
So you have construction costs. Do you guys do the construction?
No, we are not a contractor. We're just a design consultant. So we can design it and we can provide construction observation, but we would not be the ones building it.
So based on your construction observation, is there a warranty that it would last 20 years, the repairs?
Typically, there is no warranty. If you want, you can build into the specs. You can build in specific elements. Let's say, like the items that typically fail the easiest would be like your expansion joints at your abutments. You can build in saying, there's essentially a warranty for the next 5 years. You can build something like that in. But no, there's really no warranty for the full bridge for, let's say, 20 years.
So So since you write the specs, that's part of your professional service. So are you relatively confident it's going to go 20 years? with the repairs?
So a new bridge design, as I mentioned, what you design it for is a design life of 75 years. Typically, the service life is going to be closer to 100 years. And the difference there is essentially just saying the design life would be if you don't do any repairs the full 75 years. If you do repairs, then you're generally going to get up to that full 100 years. There's also materials that are used commonly today that were not used back then. So we have stainless steel pre-stressing and reinforcing, as well as fiber reinforced polymer that's essentially inert. It's a type of plastic, and those materials will last those 100 years.
I have a question. Do you feel that Helene had anything to do with the current condition of the bridge?
That is a good question. So as I mentioned, we did the last inspection, and we did it right after the hurricane, since it is on the scour critical list, and there was essentially no damage seen. There was no scour. As a part of this work, we did a bathymetric survey, which is essentially taking sonar and scanning the bed of the channel. That's not done as a part of the routine bridge inspection, and we essentially saw zero scour.
So if these repairs are done, would you say that if another event like that happened, that we would be okay?
Correct, yeah. So the idea with the scour countermeasures, we're not taking any chances. That's why we're lining the entire channel. What you worry about with those scour countermeasures is if you don't extend it far enough upstream or downstream, then the edge of that scour countermeasure can essentially get undermined. And if it gets undermined, then you essentially get like let's say a current or a river flowing underneath, and the whole thing can pick up, and then all that mud line can just scour away. So we're trying to extend that out far enough. We have not done the full hydraulic analysis at this point. That was not approved as a part of the scope, but that's something that we would do to further confirm how far upstream and downstream we need to go to prevent that from happening.
Thank you.
So it's not posted, it's not required to be posted. What size truck would be too large for that?
Based on structural analysis, it's any bridge that can go over FDOT highways or FDOT roads is fine. So there is really no limitation.
So you're talking a combination 80,000-pound tractor trailer can go over that.
I wish the answer was that simple, but yes, anything. So essentially the way it works is if there is something considered an overloaded vehicle, and let's say it's traveling from Georgia to Florida, it needs to, you need to get a special permit to drive over bridges.
You don't under 80,000.
Correct. And
Have you seen tractor trailers go over that bridge?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm saying if there is no posting, so it can handle any of the legal loads. The reason I'm saying it's not that simple is because there are 7 different legal load types, and they may or may not match a vehicle that you're used to seeing. It's really more supposed to be a nominal vehicle type to match some cases, but not all cases, and that's why we have 7 of them. Yes.
If that bridge was built in 1955, because the subdivision was done a year after, would make sense to me. Is there any way you would change your criteria at all if you knew for a fact that bridge was built in 55 or 57?
I know for a fact it was not because of the pre-stressing. So, like I said, we may be off a couple of years, but no more than that. It would be early 60s would be the earliest it would be built.
Yeah, my curiosity tells me how they got across that span without a bridge.
That is a good question.
Because the dates just don't jive.
And you're sure it's pre-stressed and not reinforced?
Yes.
Go figure. Doesn't make any sense.
So bridges that are in this condition, when you talk about liability, how do they usually fail when they do fail?
So, if the bridge failed due to scour, What that means is that the bridge, it means that the ground line will have scoured away deep enough where the piles will no longer support those same loads. So if let's say we did have the pile driving records, or we had some information, you can also do something, you can try to estimate the pile depth as well. You can do NDT, there's a lot of different things you can do to better determine the depth of those piles. If you go down that road, essentially what you'll find is that there's a certain embedment that you need to have to carry these full loads. If we don't have that, that doesn't necessarily, if you reach that scour critical elevation, let's say we knew what that was and it was met, that by itself does not mean the bridge is going to fail tomorrow. It just means it cannot hold those loads. So something we've done in the past, we've done it for FDOT, is we will do something called a substructure load rating, where we actually look at the pile capacity in that specific instance, and then we would post the bridge based on the pile capacity with that embedment. So more likely than not, the bridge would not fail if you saw a storm response, but it would enact that plan of action. And if you get the FDOT involved and you cannot prove that the bridge is stable, you may run into issues with them allowing you to open the bridge, since we have not run those calculations.
Now, you said it would be impossible to fill that bridge and fill.
Correct.
Why?
From a regulatory standpoint, they're not going to allow it.
Our island used to end where our marina is, and then to get to Sand Key, you used to have a little ferry there. And that was all filled in probably in the early 60s, but that can't be done now.
I would not recommend it. It's going to be a much longer permitting process, and it's going to be very difficult.
That bridge was actually built over a natural channel.
Okay.
So there was something that was said about that natural
Well,
channel.
that's what I'm saying, when Sand Key got filled in, that was really a channel too. And that was a lot.
That's why they call it go-ahead channel, whatever. But I'd like to find out just when.
Well, you got me curious now.
Oh, I'm curious.
Well, you two can do some research.
How did they build a house without that bridge in 1965?
We probably had a little slip ferry going back and forth.
All right, these guys are probably tired of the hypotheticals. Let's continue on and find out what we're going to do. Kyle?
That's what I was going to ask. If we were going to take the repair route, you said we didn't execute all of the studies. Would we finish the hydraulics at this point?
If we're going to go forward with the scour countermeasure design, then yes, we would do the hydraulic analysis that Jim and I would handle like I said, to ensure that we're extending far enough upstream and downstream so DOT will approve this and take it off of the scour critical list.
Can I ask a question? Is this cost here including the scour containment, or is that the scour containment being?
This includes it,
different?
and it's the vast majority of the cost.
So the rehab here is the scour containment and the bridge reinforcement and
Correct.
and the piling. Okay, got it.
Yes.
So for you, it's a big deal to get it off the scour critical list.
It is not a requirement, so it's really just up to what you feel comfortable with liability-wise as a city.
So you're saying, when you say that, I'm trying to equate that to some numbers here. So that means what, will we get lower
What's the non-scour
insurance
number?
rate? We get,
That's my understanding, but we typically do not get involved in the insurance side of the equation.
understood.
So
I'm just trying to understand the liability difference here. So you're saying the bridge is good to go for 20 years.
I'm saying there is an unknown, right? There's an unknown with the current bridge based on the scour. What we've seen in the past is really no scour since 2013. So one way to look at it is we just had a hurricane that caused overtopping. It was in this area. I think I think it was proven that it was at least a 100-year design storm event. and the bridge held up fine, right? So that's one way you can look at it. It's just we can't prove it with numbers, and that's all FDOT cares about.
So how much is the countermeasures in the 400K?
The countermeasures are going to be of that construction cost of $400,000. I would say it's around, I want to say around $250,000 to $300,000 worth of that. The most expensive items on the list would be those scour countermeasures. In this case, you need to install it underwater, so you need to get specialized divers to secure it. And then the pile jackets would be next highest. The spall repair, concrete repair is pretty low cost, and that's including making sure you do it right. So something that we would cover in our design plans would be to show the contractor exactly how to repair a spall. I don't know, since I don't have any repair plans for what was done in the last repair, it may not have been done correctly. And so the proper way of doing it is to essentially chip out the bad concrete so it is at least, let's say, an inch behind the rebar. So when you pour that concrete patch, you have a mechanical connection with the concrete and the rebar. If you just patch the concrete as if it's, let's say it's spackle or something, you just patch over it, make a smooth surface, there's nothing holding that on mechanically, so the rebar is just going to keep expanding and it's going to pop right off in, let's say, 5 years.
All right, so if we decided to go the rehab route, what would be the next step for Bel Air Beach?
The next step would be for Gemini and Ayers to put together a proposal to get that work done. That's something that we can do very quickly because it was originally it was going to be part of one proposal for this work as well. So we can put that together, and then we would start with that design process. So the first step in that would be doing a hydraulic analysis, understanding what is the different scour elements that we need to consider, and then we can design the scour measures from there. We've already done the bathymetric survey, so there's no survey that needs to be done. We've also, we have the title searches as well, so if this work extends beyond the right-of-way limits, we already have all the information we need to handle that. We would prefer not to extend past the right-of-way limits because that's going to require something called a sovereign submerged land easement, and that's going to just make this whole process extend out further.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kyle,
I have a question, Dave.
oh, sure. Go
What
ahead.
is the cost of the design process to get that started? What's the fee for the design?
The design is what you see here on the screen, so that would be approximately $130,000.
Okay, but you said that included supervision and whatnot.
No, that's the
so-
second.
That's the
Oh,
CEI.
okay.
Yep. And also as a part of that professional services would be post-design work. So we would be kept on. The contractor is going to submit shop drawings, RFIs, we would respond to it, and we can provide site visits as well to make sure they're doing it correctly.
If you didn't do the scour countermeasure, how's that change the professional services?
It would drop it significantly. That's a big portion of this effort.
Would it drop it $100,000?
If we don't do the scour countermeasures, we don't need to do the hydraulic analysis, and the structural repairs are going to be a lot of those spall repairs, crack repairs, a pile jacket. So I don't have a number off the top of my head, but it's going to drop it by more than half.
And would you say that we would still, the longevity or the lifespan would still be 25 years without the countermeasures?
It would have that same 15 to 20 year service life. You just still have that unknown with the scour critical status.
Okay.
Do we have any idea what we possibly could get on grants?
Right now, it does not look very hopeful. They've attempted, I think, 2 separate grants without success, and they've learned of a new FDOT grant. We're hoping.
So you're thinking we're not going to get
Maybe on the FDOT.
I hope that we can get,
Maybe on the
we can
FDOT,
get something
they can
matching.
apply for it, yeah, this one you said earlier. And then am I correct in what I'm seeing on the budget that we only have funded or saved 85,000?
Yeah,
That was my next question.
What page am I on? It's down, it's the green heading.
That's very
Oh, 52.
Okay, so in the budget,
Looking that up. David, did you say that this is checked every 2 years?
Yes, routine inspections are every 2 years.
So you can keep an eye on Scour every 2 years?
Correct.
so if you look at page 53 for the replacement, we got 490.
Oh, in replacement.
Is that where you're accruing on that
I
savings
thought we
plan?
had saved more money than that. I was like, what is going on?
So 52 and 53. So this is the 22nd Street Bridge repair and replacement project sheets. And the repairs, we had the 80 built up in the prior year funding, and then I put 475 for construction, and then 50,000 engineering and permitting. I just got to change the balance on
So we
that.
essentially have enough money set aside if we don't get a grant.
Yes, for this repair project. And then we would have to consider some kind of long-term plan for the replacement.
I think we have to up it to like 250 or something a year to get to that 5 million number at some point in 20 years.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? For 20 years?
Yeah.
Well, that would be within the time frame that they're offering us for when they're recommending the lifespan would extend to.
So eventually it's going to have to come down. Replace.
Yes. And it would be replaced with a better bridge, something wider that would have.
And that 5 million is going to probably be about 10 million.
In 20 years, yeah.
Did you guys build in cost projection?
Wouldn't be here in 20 years.
The $5 million price point, is that
That would be with today's money.
today?
Correct.
Do you have any idea,
Future value.
what have you seen in the bridge industry as far as price increasing?
Prices are always increasing for bridges. It's why a new bridge is $5 million today, and it used to be $2 million. There's a lot of work being done right now, and not enough contractors to do it.
For 110 a year, you're not even going to come close. Yes.
So I'm kind of looking at this 4 different ways. So we've already addressed that the total cost for replacement is 10 times that of the rehab, correct?
Correct.
The lifespan of 20 years for the rehab versus 100 years for replacement,
Correct.
that's a 5 times. So number-wise, that makes no sense to me at this current time to go with the replacement. In addition to that, over 20 years, the technology advancement is an unknown. We have no idea what might be available from a bridge standpoint. Could be something you put on one side, push a button, and the bridge is there. Who knows? Dealing with the Scour critical list, I would not want to be sitting here, God forbid, that bridge fails, and somebody said we had the chance to fix what needed to be fixed to get off the Scour critical list, and we didn't. Not a good spot to be in. So I'm definitely in favor of doing that.
Yeah, but he's only given us 5 years of that.
No, he's giving us 20,
He says possibly 20.
15
He
to
says
20.
you only guarantee for up to
No, that was for the repairs.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the
If we
repairs are
didn't-
recommended to be done in the next 5
Within
years.
the next 5.
Assuming
20
that that's
years.
done, then the bridge would last 15 to 20 years. The Scour countermeasures could last much longer than that.
Right.
It's just the bridge is going to fail before that.
Yes, he gets set 20.
But are you guaranteeing that for 20 years?
He already went through the guarantee. It's not guaranteed.
There's no guarantees.
Yeah, so if there's no
All of
guarantee,
this is our best estimate. The bridge could last longer than 20 years.
Going back to 5 years is about the time span regardless, right?
The bridge is in good condition today. It's just an older
That's not what he
bridge.
said, right?
So,
Tell me what he said.
He said 5 years to get it done in 5 years. That's a 5-year term you heard. If we get this done in 5 years, is that correct?
correct. The reason why I'm saying the repairs are,
What's a guarantee?
There's-
No, take the word guarantee out of the discussion. He said 15 to 20 years, his professional opinion.
Right. But if it fails in 6 years or 7 years or 3 years, somebody goes over it with a crane and weighs 130,000 pounds.
Well, that's why we keep our limits on it, even though it's not required, and
Right.
we try to keep it healthy.
We have one cop.
Don't trust me.
The Scour countermeasures, since those have nothing to do with the repairs, that could be done at any time.
Correct, but as I mentioned, if you're going to be going through the permitting process for the pile jacket, you should really get both these done at the same time. It's also going to drive down the unit rates that you're going to get from contractors.
Understood.
Yep.
And I would love to have a brand-new bridge, but we honestly don't know what's going to happen in our budget starting next year. We have the money now. There may be some grants available. I don't know. We can also ask our friends and see if there's something that the state might come up with. But regardless, I would say that this is a no-brainer for me, just to go with a rehab.
I would second that. I think that we've got the money saved, it needs to be done, time is now. We've got this information, we sit on another 6 months, another 3 years, price is just going to increase, and we're still be where we started.
Has anyone explored the bill with the referendum that's going to be approaching us this year about the reduction of property tax and the governor's position that there will be grants available to the city? You know what I'm saying?
I'm not really sure what the requirements will be, but as far as I'm concerned, this whole tax business is nothing but a big fat preemption.
Do you have any knowledge on this, Tom? What these grants that the governor's talking about to offset budget loss?
All I know is what the governor said at the meeting that took place a couple of months ago, and when Mayor Arvitine from Bel Air Bluffs asked him how the cities were going to make up the difference after they lost all this revenue for ad valorem taxes, and he says, well, we've got this big pot of money.
Yeah, but
What hoops do you have to jump through to get that money?
how do you get your hands in the fund?
And how,
So they're gonna
who
chip all over
qualifies
cities.
and who
That's
doesn't?
my question.
So this is one of those unknowns that I'm not willing to gamble on, and we don't know until we know. And so it looks like right now we're okay on doing a project like this, and if we can find some way to offset some of it and not spend it all, so that we've got a nice little nest egg left over for the next project, I say that's the route we should go. Kyle, do you have any comments?
No, I agree with fixing it and rehabbing it when we're trying to replace it now. And again, if we're going to get in there and do a project to try to cut this rehab down, doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Councilmember Goff? Comments?
Yeah, for me, I'm just not excited about the Scholar countermeasures. It's been 13 years, hasn't moved an inch. We have had more hurricanes in the past 5 years than we have had in some time. I don't know, it may be an escalation, got it. However, they inspect it every 2 years. We've got a lot of heads up if there's, scour coming our way. The scour countermeasure has nothing to do with the repairs of the spalling and everything else on the bridge. It can be done. I understand there'll be a permitting issue, and I understand a contractor would like the whole bit, but really, what the contractor wants is a scour countermeasures, right? That's where all the money is to everybody. Almost 75% of what we're talking here. I do agree with the repair, there's no doubt. I like that. It's just how far do we go in a bridge that we can see that there's an end in sight on this thing. Right? So.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Beam?
Question I put up before was age. Whether that means anything or not, I don't know. But I would like to see the repairs done, definitely with scouring considered. You never know what the erosion factor is going to be. We could have a bunch of storms in the next 5 years, and we won't really know that until they happen. And we've got the money to do it, and we'd be off the hit list.
All right,
with
thank
the
you.
scouring.
Councilmember Harper?
Did you indicate that the current scow is 7 feet?
Can you repeat yourself?
Did you indicate that the current scow is 7 feet?
The scour that was observed in 2013 was 7
For
feet.
7 feet, and there's been no additional scow since then.
Correct.
So we got 13 years of no's, to your point. But to your point, I can't imagine going through the liability of not being off the critical list. So I would support the replacement with the full liability coverage, especially since the budget is sitting there and we have the unknowns of the future budget.
Councilmember Shirley, I think you already said, and Mr. Bankert.
What do you recommend? One of the reasons I voted for you is because of your engineering background. What do you recommend? This is your line of field of expertise.
If it was my bridge and it's me and I own the bridge,
It is your bridge.
I would not do the countermeasures now because I have somebody inspecting it every 2 years. But I also understand that now I'm making a decision on behalf of the city, right, which is different.
So where you go?
For me, I mean, I do believe that if we have the money, I can't understand, do we have to spend it? Or if we don't spend it, is that the money that we use down the road for a new bridge or something like that?
Yeah, I'm confused. I don't know which is the right way to go with the future and where we're at today. I mean, we have it budgeted.
Are these countermeasures, are they proven effective? Like, what is their success rate?
Yes, that's, they're a pretty common repair. There's lots of different types that we can take a look at. But yeah, in general, these are structural scour countermeasures. These are not cheap. These are commercially viable for exactly this use.
But going back to what he was saying, and what you said, every 2 years we do this inspection. So 4 years from now, we find it's a little bit worse. Can we still go back to the countermeasures?
Would that be a multi-year process to implement them? How long would it take to implement countermeasures?
The process from design to receiving a permit and then starting the bid process, I would estimate that whole process to be around a year. It's tough to say because when you get the Coast Guard involved, they answer to no one, and I've seen them take 2 to 3 years to get a response.
But we don't have a permit now.
Correct.
So we're still talking a year down the road.
Correct.
I
And
guess
it's that permitting process that is always the unknown. It may happen in 2 months, it may happen in a year.
I guess the angle I have is if we have a lengthy permitting process and we discover a problem down the road, then we would have a problem with the lengthy permitting process versus being proactive and having it covered ahead of time.
Yeah, I would vote to move forward with this.
Okay.
Do we have at least a majority? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you answering all of our questions. I know we had a lot of them, but you powered through it. Nice job.
That's a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So Kyle, when will this come up for an official vote?
So right now, we're talking about the budget and putting it in there. So like we said on page 52 and 53, we have the bridge repair and bridge replacement project sheet. Right now, we have some money built up from the past about 8 years of saving anticipation that the bridge was going to have issues.
So if the budget is approved and we fix this bridge in the budget, then the next step would be to vote on it as soon as we approve the budget.
So once we approve the budget, depending on I think it was on our last PO, we had the hydraulic study. So if I wait until we approve the budget because we're going to need that money, so then we can move forward. But I would need at least the design and engineering costs approved for this budget year.
Kyle, the way I read that, I thought the budget, not to turn the page up, but I thought the money was already sitting there in reserves.
Well, it's been accumulated and earmarked, saved, but it could just as easily be put back into our general fund.
Right, but my point is, why do we need to wait till we approve the budget when we already have that money in past year's budgets? And we're just at this point,
I would just approve the project sheets to be accurate for this budget year and then move forward. Right now, I don't have them the way they should be. I would move some of the money from the replacement costs to the repairs.
I just don't want to wait until September when we're approving this and we pass the budget and then, you know, and then start the process. We should start it now, you know, start it at the next meeting, I would think.
At least get into the planning phase, right?
Right, release the funds to allow them to start the design process.
I'll get their official proposal and then we can bring it to the meeting discussion.
All right, cool. Now we're on to item number 2, review and discussion of fiscal year 2026-2027 budget and strategic plan. You are up, City Manager Riefler.
Let's see if I have the share screen. Let's see. Okay, so I am on page 10. I have page numbers at the top here in blue. And this I got last week. This was a spreadsheet that was drafted up showing the impact as the year 1 and year 2 for the proposed property tax bills. If we go to page 13, it shows our current ad valorem and the impact, the estimated impact. So we're using last year's, or no, that's 95% of this year. So that's using the current ad valorem estimates. If everyone was to pay early, they would get a 5% discount. That's why we calculate it that way. So with our ad valorem, 95% being 1.7 million. Year 1 impact if this referendum goes through, we're looking at a reduction in our ad valorem revenue of about 190,000. That's year 1. And then on year 2, where you get a little bit more exemption, the total impact we're looking to our current revenue is 310,000. That represents 18%. It's not horrible. There's some other cities and counties that are in a lot worse position than we are. I would expect if the county was impacted heavily by this tax reform, then it would be passed down to us in some shape or form. So we'd have to plan for that. But when you look at 18%, if you look at our estimated growth in taxable values this year, it's right around 6%. So if we kept on the same track, we might be able to recover from this in 3 years if we keep seeing property values increase. But nothing's certain. Just
so the county provided this information. Are you saying that they took into account what the percentage of properties that are homestead exempt? Did they really do a true calculation? Do we know that?
I think this came from the property assessor or?
We're about 50% homesteaded here in the
property. They would know.
Well, I asked him before how many were homesteaded. Our PG 615 out of 784.
that's what I got from the property appraiser.
62 condos out of 426 are homesteaded.
No better source than where it's going.
Right now, it's the county. I came from Signal Largo, provided the Reynolds County. I can dig more into what they did for these calculations.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So we're talking about this first year being a $150,000 homestead exemption increase for the individual homeowner, correct? And then going to $250,000 the following year.
Mm-hmm.
But nowhere in this conversation is there a conversation of how this revenue is to be made made up. So are we operating assumption that we are working on reducing our budget by this amount? Or are we the assumption that the state's going to provide additional fundings to compensate for this? Because I hear a lot of hot air right now as far as, I hear something being said, but there's a pot of money, but that doesn't tell me mechanisms or guarantees of anything.
It's pie in the sky.
Right,
It's
so-
a campaign speech.
So we should be working on a $190,000 reduction rate this year, worry about 300 next year.
In year 2028.
That's the way I would read it.
It'll impact us.
Correct?
Yeah, the alternative is to go up on our millage rate. And that,
Counter-effective.
yeah.
We increase the millage rate to reduce the
We've not had
tax.
to do this in such a long time.
How much
Well, we're
revenue?
talking about
Makes no
next budget.
sense.
This is 2029.
How much would that increase if you went up to the next?
I don't know.
We can run the numbers. 'Cause they're
So
only allowed to
how does a
increase
city
by
like
so
Benin
much.
make up a third of their budget gone? A third?
Yeah.
I mean, 18% is
Yeah,
tough.
I'm
A
looking at
third.
Kenneth City, they're almost 40%.
Cities are thinking about adding additional assessment costs.
So is the other-
For example, fire assessments.
Is the other alternative, they're looking to consolidate the smaller cities so that there is less pain, so cities are merging, so they eliminate the
That
overhead
would
with
make
trying
the
to
state
get
of Florida very happy.
I know that would make the state of Florida very happy. I'm just trying to understand, I'm trying to understand the motivation behind all this.
Well,
To
it's,
keep the
Other than
older
political.
folks in their homes. I mean, quite frankly, there's a number of people being priced out of their house that have lived here for 50-something years, their home's paid for, and they can't afford to live. And that's the people that they're trying to help. And the reason it doesn't affect us much, because our home values are much greater, it's just, there's such a tax base here. Largo, there's a lot of those smaller homes that are, people are affected. It's a problem, it's an issue. Between taxes and insurance, it's pricing people who've lived here all their lives out of homes.
I guess one of the questions I have though is that a
So
lot
I'm
of
sick of, this subject, I have a real tough time with saying across the board that the state's gonna put, these, if you look over time, probably Bel Air Beach, you just said 6%, I thought it was 8%. We are having consistently these huge increases in our property tax base without changing our millage rate. Just look at what the other cities are collecting. And they're spending like drunken sailors. They're not sharpening their pencil. If the money's there, they're spending it. They need to start cutting the budget.
The county's spending money like drunk.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna
it.
spend $300 million on a stadium that draws 15,000 a night.
But I can talk about his Bel Air Beach right now,
But I mean, yeah, but like you said, the drunken sailor, it's true.
It's
So,
time
so
to-
from our perspective, our best bet here is to sharpen our pencils. And
Absolutely.
be prepared for the worst case scenario, and if something better happens, then we're ahead of the game.
I mean, no one knows better than this man right here at what $190,000 is going to do to his budget.
Yeah, and that's gonna be next year, so we'll know where we end up and what we end up with. And possibly, I don't know how the state's gonna work with that extra money and provide funding.
So you're talking budget 2027, 2028.
Yeah.
Yes,
This
that's the
190,000
year.
will be impacted.
Right, so we're,
So you don't have to worry about it this year.
We got another 6% of growth or increase in values that's gonna help with the next year, as long as we're staying
If
static.
we have a bad storm, we're looking at 6% less.
I can tell you, the houses selling like crazy around Waco, and I can only imagine that increase of 100 and whatever, $1 million on the price of the house that just sold down the street is going to just increase our revenue, right?
Yeah,
So we've got
especially if it's out of
things
second
like
home
that,
on
yeah.
that huge house.
All the new construction, how many new homes are under construction? They're $5 million at the end of.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true. And there's so much more square footage in these homes. They're giant boxes, but they're 3-story boxes.
And we have a lot of other sources of revenue, we've got all of our utility tax.
Which
all
I'm gonna
this-
go
yeah.
into next, so review that.
can I ask you 2 questions?
Yes.
2 questions. In this calculation, is there any consideration of residential commercial mix? And/or is there any consideration of the actual millage that's already being applied? Like I see some 6% and 7% millages here, and I see us weighed out at 2%. So the question is, are we taking a hit because our millage is lower than everybody else, or are we taking a bonus because we are not as high on other categories of millage that they are adjusting for?
We're taking a hit because of our makeup of our tax base and how many people are actually homesteaded.
Okay.
Also the makeup of our tax base.
Okay, but the basis of the calculation is not a basis of the percentages of the revenue sources. Like we're 100% ad valorem, but the Indian Rocks might be 60% ad valorem, or whatever the percentages are.
See, if you look at some of these communities, the hit, they can make it up elsewhere because they have businesses.
Right,
They
that's my
have
point.
other ways to offset.
Agreed.
And the state says there's going to be something out there, but I guarantee you, they never feel sorry for Mallard Beach. We're not poor pitiful us.
No.
And so it really is up to us to just tighten our belts.
Yep.
And power through it and do the very best we can. And there may be some projects that we have to slow down on in the frequency, but fortunately, this city is in really good shape right now. A lot of big projects have just finished thanks to this man right here getting it done, and our streets all look good, and I think overall we'll survive this. It's not the way that we wanted to do it, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, and I put some projects that we can consider in this year's budget, but there's areas that we don't have to do that. But I'll go over those this weekend. All right. So I'm gonna get to page 15, which is where we start on the revenues. And then at the top there, you're gonna see the ad valorem. And our current millage, which is at 2.0394. And it's been that since 2012. And then you go down and you see we have franchise fees and utility service taxes for all the utilities. And this is also a significant portion of revenue. These have been the same since the early 2000s, but they've always been there. And the franchise fee is it's a fee that we collect from the actual utility company for them using our right-of-way, and then the utility service taxes are just a tax on the actual service that is paid out. So whatever percent it gets turned in and submitted back to us from the utility companies or the county, depending on who provides the utility. And we get those in disbursements throughout the year. There's also the communications service tax. Again, we haven't touched these since the early 2000s, but they are a source of revenue for us.
When you say we haven't touched them, we have control over it.
Yes, so the city council had to set all these.
We haven't changed them.
We haven't changed them, they're just existing. And then, things like business registrations, we're pulling some revenue, rental property registrations, small amount of foreclosure. And you get down here, we got some safety grants, recycling grants, get those every year for just annual programs. The Board of County Commissioner garbage collections is done for our utility billing, so that will be adjusted this year. We usually do it in the summertime once we get the Waste Pro numbers. And then parking. What good news is that the parking meter fees have stayed very consistent throughout all the beach work we've done on storms. So we're still pulling a steady revenue stream.
A quick question on that. So I noticed that it was 170,000 actual in 24-25. And then the next year we budgeted 100, and now we're going back to 140, which is great. I think this could possibly be a tool. We're talking about a $190,000 deficit potentially. I mean, we can set the rates on parking meters, whatever we want to. Now, obviously, there's a point of diminishing returns, but that could be a good tool for us if people really want to park in our city. I mean, there's other cities that charge $25 to park for an hour somewhere. So that's something I think we can keep in mind, not necessarily this year, changing the parking rates, but in next year when we're going to have to look for ways to get smarter or create different revenue. I mean, Attorney Trask just talked about some cities are creating new assessments for services. And it's not brain surgery. I mean, if we're going to have less money, typically you're going to look at, well, what services do we have to change? And what are the most important services for our citizens and things like that? Or we need to look for ways to create more revenue. This could be a tool. Because this really, the fact of the matter is being paid by people who don't live here. So this is something to keep in mind.
And I was going to, at one point, propose that the parking fees that are charged here at City Hall be used to, reserved for redoing the pickleball court, but, I know that's probably the last thing on the list, but it's one of those things that's in bad shape, and if we're trying to be a premier city, it's
I
really
agree.
in
I
bad
think
shape.
it's an important thing.
Yeah.
Really. Some people might, smile at that. It's like it's a tennis court or a pickleball court.
Right.
But at the same time, we don't want people looking at it and going, that doesn't look very good.
God, where do we come
I don't complain, I use it, so, yeah, and when I'm out there, there's always somebody there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
From out of town, right, from across the bridge.
From somebody,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody that drove there.
Right, and is paying for parking.
Pay for parking.
All right.
All right.
How do we come for rental fees for this facility?
That's going to be on the next page. So, we're moving down. You see fines and forfeitures. This is when the fines are accrued, like the actual fines, like the daily fines and what the magistrate will set. But then, let's see, code violation fines and administrative fees. So that's for our hearing fees. This is our, I'd have to look at there's some difference between that one and the fine and forfeitures. But then I wanted to make that distinction because when you get down here, you get into this, we always have this question, other miscellaneous revenues, we have another miscellaneous revenues under there, and that, you get significant numbers in here because that is as the interest accrues on all those fines, it gets pulled in here as revenue. But like if you look at this 103,000, now that was the interest accruing, but we haven't actually collected it, and that's still that 103 25th Street with that very large code violation. So just want to be clear about those numbers. But then, we were talking about rental revenue. Again, we're pulling in, we're closer to $40,000 annually. We budget a little less than that, but we've been making it consistently. That's helpful too, and we can always look at fee increases on this side because now the building's paid off, so this is just utilization of buildings.
What is our percentage utilization?
I'd have to calculate that.
10%, 20%, 50%? Just ballpark.
Are we talking about all use?
As far as facilities, how much capacity do we have versus what we currently use from a rental perspective?
Like our busiest seasons are like the fall and the spring for weddings. So those are almost every weekend booked up, or we're filming them in a special event. And then once we get to summertime, like right now, they taper off.
So there's not a lot of squeeze
Kind of
for more.
every
There's
other-
not a lot of squeeze for more time slots. It's just a matter of what we have is used, and seasonality is what they do.
Seasonality is big. We did cut the wedding wire expenses last year in the budget. It was about because it was getting up to $8,000, and we just didn't think it was needed. And we've been seeing just from word of mouth, and now that we have such a good rental base, seems to be pulling them in still.
I think that's another tool we have. I can tell you as a father of 2 daughters, weddings are emotional, and when you go out there and check all the venues that are available, somehow cost never seems to be a big deal. So I think that's something that we can try to push that. You guys do a great job. This is a beautiful facility when you think about it for somebody getting married. And it's probably not that familiar. And when you start comparing other venues with regards to, and I haven't done any type of analysis, but I don't think we charge anything near what I ended up paying for a venue. That's the deal. So we need to, again, another tool, if we're looking for additional revenue, that's not impacting our citizens. Those are other people that are coming to get married here. I love them all, but I'd rather they be paying additional money than our citizens.
So you're saying we impose a wedding tax?
Yeah.
Well, his father of 3 daughters, it's not emotional, it's cost. That's okay, so it's coming out of my wallet, I don't get no emotion.
But when your daughter says, "Dad, I really like this one the best," yeah, but it's 3 times as much as the other one.
Well, then they go
I
to
like this
mom
one the
and
best.
they go to mom and they circle me back.
There you go. So I think, again, another tool to create revenue. And we keep raising it until you start
Yeah, but are we at a
reading.
point right now where it's too much? Because
I don't think so. Not from what
I
I've
just
heard.
went to, I think it was a 65th birthday party, residents that live right here. They had it down IRB. And I said, why didn't you use our hall? And the hall was empty that night. They said, it's $3,000. I said, whoa. I said, what are you paying for here? He said, $500.
My point exactly.
But what I'm saying is, they didn't rent our hall, which they could have.
Okay, it was,
They went down to IRB and got another 500,
okay.
which was a bigger facility and they had a big kitchen and everything like that. But it was a church too, it was a member, you know.
Okay.
But I'm just saying $3,000 for,
But I'm just thinking weddings.
You're thinking wedding and emotion.
Weddings. Yeah.
do you do a lot of weddings though?
And the demand is not going to go
During the
away for
season,
weddings.
that's a big one. And we give them the whole weekend, because it's a big event. Right?
Yeah, just another tool.
Yeah.
Going back to the franchises, if we were to raise the franchise fees, would they just roll that right into our what we're billed? Because we use these,
Yeah, we're imposing a fee on
right,
ourselves.
so we'd be taxing ourselves.
But it did make me think twice about my cell phone bill that I have sent to my office. I should probably change it to here so that the franchise fees come to Bel Air Beach. You know, and things like that that I had never really thought about. Because right now, 62% of our budget is everything outside of ad valorem taxes.
It is,
Which is a big
it is a good
amount.
point, because utilities continue to go up, so their margin continues to increase, but if we don't increase our franchise fees the same way they do, then they just extend their margin every time they raise our fees. So,
Okay, but you just can't raise your franchise fees. It's contractual driven, and usually the contracts, franchises are for a specific period of time. So for 20, 25 years or whatever, that's the rate. 6% is usually what you pay for a franchise fee. And as for what you guys are talking about, that's the utility service tax, and that is the flow through. So whatever your resident pays, it flows right through the utility, right to the city. And so you can regulate that and increase that.
Right.
But you can't touch that franchise fee until the franchise agreement expires. Or
When
there's
is
a
that?
provision in the franchise agreement allows it to be amended. And so I don't know.
We gotta dig into that.
But we can look at the franchise agreements. They're usually very, very long.
That's why we have an attorney.
Yeah, I thought there was something that we couldn't just change.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some tweaks we can do to make that squeeze work.
Jody, do you remember when that franchise fee was passed? It was when we were on council, between 18 and...
I don't remember passing it, so I'm not sure. I think it's older.
We did the underground in 1819. On the franchise.
That might be
That was a-
that might be the stormwater thing.
That was, no, it wasn't, it was franchise fees.
Pull up the last dates for those, so we can get back to you. And then, yeah, so like I said, it gets down into like, copies, assessment searches, promotional items, just all local income, NPDES fees, variance fees. So, just collecting back what we're expending. And then this is just an overview of our department expenditures. By department, but we'll get into those next. This sheet, it goes over our revolving fund balance, which is kind of hovering at about 5.5 million. And then our general fund operating expenses annually are just under 3 million.
Can I ask on that, the revolving fund, that's the money we have with that, right?
This is sort of what we keep in reserves, which is just, it's not allocated for anything. It's been earning its interest with the, what do you call it? Small business, SBA interest, and it makes pretty good, close to 5%.
It's
And
something
then
we
this
should
has been
visit
over-
often.
This is when we look at our projections 5 years out with the Citizens Advisory Board. This is basically what we're looking at as far as how much reserves we're maintaining and how they're affected. And I'm on page 18, which is the clerk budget.
Oh.
That's a lot, like.
Well,
Yes.
worth it.
You're up.
We increased a little on contractual services just for what's our Unicode fees. So at the end of your packet, I have the departmental budgets. And those are going to start, let me get you the page number for,
Is that
clerk
what
is 72, so it gives you a little bit more detail. But the Unicode recurring fees have gone up slightly, so if you can kind of see what is under each one of these accounts when you see an increase. I'll go back to the general funds, so it's a little easier to follow when they're wrapped up. Okay, so we did some adjustments in the travel per diem, a little bit for the advertising for like ordinances and things like that. Some more increases for what we're spending. But we did do a lot of, we're going to do a lot of readings this year per our ordinance changes. So every time we do, we have to post it in the paper and pay the advertising fees. Those may come down next year if we don't do as much code changes.
Why did workman's comp more than double? Actually, like 140%.
Which what were you at? Which page?
264.
18.
Workers' compensation. You're not an injury-prone person, are you, Kevin?
Oh, from the actual here, we try to break this out per department, per employee, for our total workers' compensation premium. But Heather was doing it one way, and Andrew Tess, who is, he's now the guy taking over our budget, he's the main guy in charge of the company. He's gonna do it his own way, so he's kind of readjusting those.
Lloyd, you had a question?
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to make sure that there actually is enough of travel and per diem for Kathy, because I know she's trying to ramp up very quickly with her certifications and things like that.
I followed the same structure of what I was using. I think Kathy, has there been enough money for
So, yeah.
spending? Okay, good. And then we get to the city council budget. I increased the travel per diem, anticipating that we were going to get some new members to do some of the programs. That if we don't spend it, it used to be up for travel for 3 members, then I dropped it down last year, but then I put it back up. It could go either way. If we don't spend it, it just gets rolled over.
Okay. Because we're actually going from 7 to 5, so some people might look at that and go, we're having less council members, right?
Yeah. I mean, we could drop it. I feel comfortable with this base because we just saw what happened in qualifying, so now I know kind of, what possible turnover we could get. But I would feel comfortable lowering it now because I wasn't sure what we were dealing with.
Well, maybe the 5 are more needy.
They could be.
Or have more to do.
You're gonna see an increase in contributions and donations, because I dropped it last year, but this is consistently, we give $1,000 to Pinellas Sheriff for the Safe Harbor project. We've been doing, it's 500 towards wreaths across America, and then 750 is Keep Pinellas Beautiful.
Okay.
So that's what we've been doing the last 2 or 3 years.
You should hold that thought, and let's give the council a 5-minute break.
Sure.
I didn't come up with that, just to say the record.
Is that really a
Council
He's
Department.
young, but maybe they did some of these comments a little earlier than what they said.
I think that
All right.
jacketing's one thing.
Well, jacketing is free. You don't know how bad
It was when they
they
did.
were when they didn't jacket.
Remember,
I know they decreased the low rate,
Excuse me.
06, 07, but
Keep going.
Okay.
All right.
So we're on page 20, city manager budget. This stayed relatively the same, didn't do too many changes. Through finance, we were at 67,000 for our MOU for Andrew Test, and we're looking to go from 67 to 70, so 4.5% increase, which is pretty fair. He did 3%, I believe, since 2019 of last year. He did, it might have been 4 or 4.5. So they'll put us at 70. Accounting and auditing, that went up slightly just based on our RFP with Peter Schatzel's company. And then advertising just dropped a little bit. Finance department, they would, it's just advertising for budget fees, or for the, what needs to go for our trim notices. And then information technology, we're in the process. We got a subscription to Box Incorporated, which is the cloud service. That was an annual fee of $1,000, but it's unlimited storage. We're in the process of moving from our local network files into the cloud. It takes a little bit of time, but we want to verify that everything gets moved over safely, with the intention that we'll continue using a cloud for our backup and our storage, and no longer have to keep a network server device in the building that we have to renew or purchase upgraded technology every so many years. So I'm building that into the contractual costs, but with the hopes that the only thing that we're going to be keeping, actually we won't have to keep anything here because our old QuickBooks system will back that up on the cloud. It currently is just kept on a local server here, just so we can access it. Like I said, the network drives will go to the cloud. Our email system is already Microsoft 365, so that entire server is not there, they're already internet-based. So just kind of moving towards the future. I think this is the direction to go in. But again, we're going to do it in stages, and we want to make sure everything gets moved before everything, we stop using the network and then, move that equipment out. Was there any other changes in here? Let's see, computer software. Back to me. It's our Forerunner increase, which is the stormwater, it's Blue Sky and Storm software that we're going to be using. And the Forerunner software is kind of what the county's moved to. So they're using Forerunner and they're building their whole SDE estimator tool, which is Forerunner software approved by FEMA versus using their Excel model that we had to use prior to this. So the plus side of that is that we're all going to be on the same system. And again, actually I can demo it this briefly, just to show you what it looks like. So it's got every parcel uploaded. A lot of this is all public information built out. But it includes our flood maps, street views, and then here, this is ideally what we're going to use for everything for tracking storm damage in the future. It'll all be in one database as opposed to all different spreadsheets and web maps and everything else we were using. But the nice thing is it works with all the ongoing annual tasks, responsibilities for our CRS program. All this stuff, it gets put into here and tracked, so making all the reporting a lot easier in the end. But another thing we want to do is when we get in here and we have records and files for each house, we can also, there's room to do some more permitting and kind of work everything in one database. So that's kind of where
Could you do code enforcement as well?
They have a code enforcement module, and there is some online webinar that's coming up. They're going to do some coverage on that. I just wanted to see what it looks like.
I'm just looking for the idea that you've got a nice mashup
Yeah.
overlay that you could bring all records together for one visual interface. That'd be great.
Yeah. Let me go back to footage.
So Kyle, did you say Forerunner is public?
There's a public side of it, we can control it. So ideally what we're going to do is, we're going to have a link off our website so that people can get information that they need about their house on their own. And then it'll show publicly just a certain amount, but then if any more deep dive we got to do internally, and then we'll have all that information at our fingertips. And we can also, I think, pick and choose kind of what we make available at different times, so that's helpful. Like say if we had a storm and we had to do a large batch of substantial damage letters or non-substantial damage letters, we could create them all on this database, and then each person could go to their parcel and be able to reference what their letter is. So giving it a better tool for the public and for the staff. Let's see, we're on, that's not the part now, moving up. Okay, next. There we go. Okay. Non-departmental, professional services other. We've been spending significantly more money on professional planning services. So I did increase that, respectively for how much we've been doing. Whenever we talk about modifying code or considering how to interpret code, I usually will consult with a planner. We've used Planner a lot in the last year, just every time we're looking to revise the wording. Usually we'll start with having them give us an idea based on their experience or other cities of what they recommend, and then fit it into what our current code is. So yeah, I do think we need some more there, and I increased legal somewhat because our fees have gone up over the past 3 years. Been climbing somewhat, so I think we're gonna do a little more illegal. Better to have it than not enough. Some other areas I lowered where there was room. Repairs and maintenance, I came down just a little bit in different areas. The repairs and maintenance for the building is going to be mostly when we have AC repairs that sometimes happen, sometimes doesn't. This year was a good year. We didn't have any major repairs.
Are you getting feedback from the banks that they're going to have that big of an increase in fees? I mean, I'm seeing it across the board, but I'm just kind of curious. On your non-departmental, you've got 50% increase, if that's calculating correctly.
So that is going to be based on what we budgeted last year. I can talk to Andy. I think he just jumped it up because of what our actuals were. So we just usually try to keep it. But sometimes if we're off with the interest or the merchant's fees, if we have to adjust them. Yeah, but it looks like he's just trying to adjust it for what the actuals were. I usually don't touch on the side of the fees or the interest. The law enforcement contract, so that is, it's slightly more than a 6% increase this year. We got the numbers on it. There's a slight difference. We typically budget an extra $10,000 in law enforcement in case there's some detailed assignment that's going to request some extra fees. But we haven't used that in the last at least 3 years. That would put any extra.
So have they really increased the contract 6%, or that's?
They did.
built in?
It was. So 6.13 is what it ended up being on the contract side, and then our code enforcement was an even 6% for the hourly rate. So this one, like I said, the total contract for the year is $691,000, but we got 701 because we got that extra 10,000 in there.
And that's with no increase in hours or deputies or anything?
This is the next page. So this I did increase. So right now, last year we had $53,000, and that was last year's rate of Deputy Trump at 16 hours per week. So right now, I'm considering bringing in services for code enforcement from Safe Built on a piggyback contract. Safe Built, we do planning services. Planner Zane, who did our assessment on the height code, they are a part of Safe Built, but they also do full code services. Safe Built does construction review and code services, code enforcement for Bel Air Bluffs. And I think they do some for Bel Air. But they're supposed to be trained complete turnkey operation of code enforcement, so it's slightly different. The Safe Built contract we're piggybacking gives us a rate of $85.28 an hour. Some of their other cities, this is a service that's like about $110 an hour. They're trying to give us one of the lowest rates they could find for us to try out their services. I'm thinking of them looking forward because I know Deputy Trump is getting close to, at some point he's gonna have to retire. This happened the last time we switched deputies, but it's gonna set me back kind of to training someone brand new.
And what do you pay the sheriff per hour?
67.55 is what it's gonna be this year. So this budgetary number I put in represents 12 hours of each service. Now that's just the number I put in, whether we use it all or not. But this is what I'm proposing because when using Deputy Trump, we like having the law enforcement presence. it definitely gets things done. But at the same time, using the Deputy Trump still doesn't take each code case all the way through to the through the violations. And he represents the case in the hearings, but we still internally have to do like the letters, the violation notices, and all that. The hope would be is with the Safe Build, using their code enforcement services, is that they could take it from start to finish on every case, and they would be more of a complete turnkey.
But we lose that additional police presence, so we lose
Well,
some of that process.
What I'm proposing is like a hybrid, at least in the next year, to continue to use the deputy, but at the same time to start onboarding someone from Safe Build to learn, to see how they come on, how they function. If we like them and we have someone in the area who understands Miller Beach well, then maybe it's something we move towards. I'm just anticipating we're gonna have a point where Deputy Trump leaves and then it's gonna put us back to square one. And I'm putting more money towards code enforcement because when I hear feedback from the community, it's mostly code enforcement. People always want more code enforcement in sport.
So what would this do for weekends? That's where we'd be hybrid. We would still employ the services of the sheriff's department for the weekends?
Yeah, so Trump just did this past Sunday. He typically will do 1 or 2 weekend days of the month. They'll build them in. From talking to the Safe Build contractors, their schedules is wide open whenever you want them.
No, they actually provide services on the weekend?
Yes.
Okay.
So they can do that.
So I'm clear though, under the law enforcement, does that include Trump or not? Does that include, or is Trump only under the code enforcement?
So right now, with $95,000 budgeted, that will give us a full year, 12 hours a week with Trump, and a full year, 12 hours a week with Safe Build. I don't plan on using all of that. And then depending on what happens, I would move towards one or the other, or maybe look for an alternative if this isn't working.
My question is, you've got about $18 an hour there of discrepancy between Trump and the agreement as far as the per hourly rate. My question is going to be, what is our overhead as it relates to absorbing the pieces that Trump does not do, that we have to absorb into the city infrastructure? So for $18 an hour, I don't see that there's that big of a discrepancy there, because you're actually offloading not only Trump, but some of our own manpower.
Freeing up resources in this office.
Right.
That's something I can calculate to try and represent what that savings would be as far as what we're spending internally.
I think it's just an easier justification than it looks like, just because.
This is something, from my standpoint, when working with Deputy Trump, he does a great job at making contact, working every angle he can, what resources he has. But then sometimes it's just when people aren't moving and they say one thing and don't do it, then it gets to the point, okay, he tells us it needs to be a violation, it's kind of, and that's when we get to that point. And sometimes they build up, but I want to test kind of the whole start to finish with Safe Build to see if that is just how it goes. Because usually Trump can get a lot of cases to a certain point, but then it's like we usually will sit down and we'll bring Jennifer in too, because she does a lot of code enforcement as my assistant, and we'll just sit down and go case by case to figure out where we got to be with all these. So it does take us a little bit of catch-up time using that kind of pattern.
Got it.
And then, I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. So on the Safe Built conversation, would Trump and the new company use that same platform for code enforcement? So would they be working on the same platform, or would they be working on 2 different platforms?
I'm going to start them off on the current platform we're using. Safe Builds, they're willing to adjust and adapt to whatever we need.
Okay, that's more of an experiment.
The guy, the lead guy, Bernard, was wanting to make a site visit, just anticipation, to get more understanding this week. But they're supposed to tailor it to Bel-Air Beach, and I kind of want to get Safe Built operating while we still have Trump here, so that he can work with them, catch him up to what he knows.
Just a quick thought. Wouldn't it be more beneficial to see what they can offer if they're using their own software, and then we can see what those reports look like, rather than our lines of...
Yeah, I will check what software they have available to them and how our access to it. But yeah, I'm looking at what they can use. Okay, so sanitation waste pro. We got our numbers back for that. They're, I think the overall CIP index change was 4.44, but they got the cap of 4, which they honored. And then we saw an increase on the tipping fees at the Pinellas County on disposal at the I'm thinking the waste plant. Landfill? Landfill. I could find the word there. So there was an increase on that side. It did increase our contract, and then we'll just have to make our adjustment to our utility billing, which we typically do in July or August. Public Works, professional engineering, we're getting a little bit higher in the site plan reviews. So kick that up. It could just be all the construction, new builds, except for the storm. We got a lot of like demolition, rebuilds, and some elevation projects that all had to be reviewed. So put that up higher. If it comes back down, then I don't know, we can see. I feel like we're going to be up with our construction for at least the next 2 to 3 years. I did build in rentals and leases. We've been talking about this over the past couple of years. These have been going up. There was a big increase, obviously, the year of the storm, which got up to the 27,000. But every time our tractor breaks down, which we've been experiencing more and more breakdowns with the tractor, we keep continuing to get service because we want to use it if we have it. But a lot of times when we need to do work like this year, we have a lot of those escarpments to work on the beach. We have to rent equipment. Also, with our servicing the lights, we rent equipment too. When we do our holiday decorations, we rent equipment. So our rental budget has been increasing, but at the same time, we still have the tractor, but then maybe moving forward, I'm not sure if maintaining our own equipment on site, unless we have a safe, clean place to keep it where it's not going to get corroded so easily from this environment. I don't know if it makes sense, because even for Hurricane Helene, the tractor was broken down for both those events, and we got through without it, so it just made things work. But that's just an ongoing conversation. So right now, we'll watch how our rentals increase. If the tractor gets to a breakdown point that the repairs are too significant, then I'll bring it up to council. But it's just something moving forward. If there's a better piece of equipment, or maybe we hold out until we have a proper place to store, we need to invest in
It
equipment.
won't fit in the garage?
Currently, that will not fit in, no, either garage with the height on it. Yeah. I did do some extra in parks this year, because with the Park and Recreation Board, we're talking a lot about doing just beautification projects, plantings, and I built in some extra for irrigation planning. And we've been using volunteers as much as we can to keep doing that with them. I put more money back. I cut down the money in Gulf Boulevard median plants, and I put some more money back, and we did some plantings this year that are starting to fill out. And then we saw an uptick in some of our road sign budget, and Aaron's been going through and replacing those as needed.
So, comical question. In the public works world, there's always a big debate regarding purchasing versus leasing, especially of equipment. We don't have any type of a fleet or equipment maintenance group to take care of things when and if they do break. So I've noticed in the check signing, so your only choice is you have to send that out, which takes time as well as expense. And one of the benefits of leasing, oftentimes you can get in a lease agreement where it includes maintenance. So you're leasing it breaks, you call them, they bring it, you can put anything you want to in that agreement. You can say, I want a replacement. I'm not going to wait 2 weeks for you to get parts and repair, things like that. But I would think that would be more beneficial. We don't really have that many pieces of equipment. If we could take a look at, you could take a look at the comparison of buying and the overall cost. And it really gets tricky because you start getting into, how much am I spending on repairs? Is it time to just get rid of this thing and buy new? So it's not always an easy answer. And even if it may cost a little bit more up front because there's the unknown with sending it away to be repaired, versus if it's already built into the lease agreement contract, they're on the hook for that. So they'll come and fix it. And again, you can put requests in there that says like, you take mine, you give me another one. Right. Because I'm not going to be without. And oftentimes that could cause a challenge for you when you're without because it's broken. So just something I think it may make it easier for you guys. It will make it easier for you guys.
Right. Yeah, and it might actually end up giving us more reliable equipment. Sometimes you get stuck with what's available when you rent.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I can contact Sunbelt or Cat Rental.
Yeah.
Or even United Rentals.
Yeah.
Or I think at least, again, you're going to be paying.
But we don't really have that many pieces of equipment to deal with. And so when you're without, coupled with the fact that we don't have that many pieces of equipment,
So outside of vehicles, it's really just the
you try
tractor.
to rent something that may or may not even be available. So things like that, I think, would make you guys more efficient.
Okay.
Kyle,
Yes.
on our pickup truck on the back, could they put a lift unit in there, cherry picking, and that would fit in the back of a pickup truck?
I have to check with the 250 3/4 ton truck. If
Three-quarter
there's probably
ton.
a smaller lift crane they could do off one of those.
Yeah, you could do the lights, you could do all the, and just on the back of the vehicle, if we're not using the back of the vehicle that much. Because we have a trailer, correct, unless that's gone.
The trailer we do not have. That was flooded and it got seized.
The bearings.
Yeah. I wouldn't get a new trailer unless we were gonna use one regularly. We've been renting a trailer, but it's usually once or twice a year. We're doing all the palm tree cleanup and things like that.
Right.
When you were using a snorkel lift, you like the Christmas.
We had the boom.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we've tried bucket trucks as well. But bucket trucks is useful in certain situations. It's quicker, but
You can't fit the whole apparatus in the bucket. That's like a
Yeah, you're-
snorkel, you have a 4-foot.
you got a lot more room. Yeah, so Aaron and the Public Works Department have been experimenting with, especially with tree trimming, what pieces of equipment to rent and how to do it most efficiently. But they've actually just sped it up quite a bit. They found that taking down certain trees with just the bucket trucks and dropping them and then piling it just is so much more efficient. And they also have been piling them in the marina to let all the fronds dry out, and then when they get dry, crunch them down. Take a little bit more time, but it's actually cutting down disposal and how many dumpsters they need to use. So they've been doing great with that. All right, so now I'm getting into the general fund project sheets. And some of these are they've been in here for upkeep and maintenance, and they continue to be in here, like painting the community center. Some of them just keeping the same, like this one, $3,000 a year. At some point, it's gonna need a good paint job, but right now, staff has been touching up things like the seal in areas of the building just to keep it looking, nice and respectable. Carpet replacement, Same thing, but we did all this carpet and we got the one changed out in the conference room, which is good for our rentals and things like that, and it was getting pretty nasty. The stuff in the office, it can go longer. It's got some marks and stains, but it's not as visible, so we're just gonna let it go. Replace city buoys, this is ongoing. American Underwater Contractors, they are scheduled as soon as they get out here, which I will be inside of this month, to do the Gulf 16 buoys. And then this Thursday.
This one,
Yes.
June or July?
Let me get back, because they're just busy.
I got a question.
We have had the PO in for like 2 months. They usually take 2 to 3 months to get over here, but they're just nonstop all over the state. But we're planning on renting to do the harbor buoys that need to be replaced this week, Thursday, to at least get those ones done.
So who is it that owns all the buoys on the beach that used to be there?
That we own, we have a permit for 16 markers from roughly the start of Bel Air Beach on the west side, so 19th Street up to Marina 3500 Gulf over. And so there's 16, they're about 300 feet apart each and about 300 feet off the shore. And we are scheduled for underwater divers to come out and do all 16 when they come. So we can replace them. And then this is, it costs about a little over $20,000 total. I got about it every 3 years. Sometimes they start washing away in 2 years, it depends, but this is what's been keeping markers out there most of the time, besides what we got wiped out from the storms, and it's been taking out some time to get back. But once these get back in, I would expect at least a solid year unless we get a bad storm. Hopefully. 3 years. Beach access improvements. We spent this the last time we did overwalks. We've been adding $6,000 a year. This could be used for maybe something that we want to do with improving the sidewalks, the Bel Air short accesses, but it's just ongoing until we
We
decide.
got some piers that are cracked at like 6th Street, 12th Street, at the access points.
Those concrete ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did the one at 19th. We stood back up, put the top back on. We can do some repair work on the smaller ones. We did a nice job.
Right at the concrete pier where the fence action goes to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the kind of the curve on the top.
Where
I'd have to ask you
flags
more,
says
these are probably from 1958 or,
Yeah, the plaque that says east.
I'm guessing.
This has been sitting here. This was when we were thinking about replacing the server and upgrading everything, but I don't expect this. Maybe after this year, if everything goes successful with the cloud transfer, we're probably not going to need this project sheet anymore. The mower, we're still on the same plan. It's every 4 years to get a mower to replace the oldest one out. ATV is similar, but every 7 years. It can last a little bit longer with less use. Still gets pretty rusty in this environment, but parking inside and rinsing it helps. Again, John Deere tractor. Right now, it's on a timeline. It cost about $50,000 last time I priced it out. But we wouldn't be looking, until like 2031 or so just to consider a purchase. But like I said, it's not working out very well with our current tractor. Pickup truck. This is the F-150. We pushed this one and the other truck out last year. This one was scheduled to replace it on 10 years this year, but I think it can easily go a couple more years on the 150 because I got less use and less mileage on it in the last 10 years. The F-250, I was planning to buy something new next budget year, but the rear bed of it is completely rusted almost all the way around. It's getting pretty bad where it needs to be replaced. They use it all the time. And to replace it this year, that's why I moved up. We had it over to 2028, but I would need 19 more thousand this year to be able to purchase off of the sheriff's contract, which would be about a 3/4 ton truck, which is like a 250 or a Silverado, just on the start of a Super Duty size. But this truck, I would get a crew cab. The one we have right now does not have a crew cab, and that would be useful. And then we'd still do the extended bed, because that's useful as well. But like I said, I have Public Works thinking about alternatives for possibly the other truck, but we do need a new utility truck with the toolboxes. This is the main truck this year. I can put that in. I added, this is a new project, and this relates to after the demolition gets complete at the yard. So this area would represent the concrete slab that's left over. The idea, we've been talking to the sheriff's office. They should be able to logistically get a container, whether they rent one or buy one, out there to store their ATV equipment, and so they're not taking our space. They were previously using the house garage. And then I put in, again, 7,000. Now this would be to buy 2 of our own containers new, so they would be in good condition. And the idea would be to do one, which would be like a 20-foot for our own storage in the yard, and it would be on the pad in this area, you know, where we talked about screening it with the fence. And then the other one would be to replace the rental we're using out there where we store our sandbags. It will look better than the rental without the labeling and all that, and we can even make it more aesthetically pleasing for being, but it seems to be a good solid way to store out there. It's not going to go anywhere, and a container is not going to get damaged if we do.
We use them.
Yeah.
Okay, so my question for you was the red box. Is that an indication of how we're going to build a new ramp into that space and knock those trees down? Because you can't.
I have not gotten, that's in the capital, but yeah.
Have you gotten it surveyed and looked at how what that might look like? So we have a driveway access?
I have not spent money on the survey. I got budget numbers still from Key and using a surveyor to get that information.
But that, I think, needs to be priority. I mean, I know this is not a budget subject, other than the cost to do so, but we need to make our drive access onto that property from our parking lot rather than through the neighborhood.
And we were thinking this is the best spot, only because it wouldn't take any more parking. We could, you know, when you're not using it, the trash trunk, it gets a trash dumpster, and, you know, it seems like a decent access point. I do have Gemini looking at actual surveying and engineering for it. And then, okay. So this is another, when we're talking about strategic plan and communication, which is a big one, I hear, I think this room needs major upgrades, but in more of a one hookup, plug-in arrangement that's like a lot less setup, so that we can, I think it'll enable a better venue for rentals, because it's always people always want to use AV. I make it work as best I can with our setup, but something a little more simplistic would help that. But at the same time, it seems to be hit or miss with these wires to the floor and the way we connect them. Sound test before meetings, we're not consistently producing a good product for the online meetings. And I think that's important to the residents of Bel Air Beach. They want to be able to watch everything that's going on from their houses and stay in the know and have a good means to do so. So I did talk, the vendor is NWN, they used to be NWN Carousel, but I talked to this vendor through Florida DMS, Suncom, so they're already like a state approved contractor that does this work for state up in Tallahassee, all their government buildings, creating these Zoom meeting rooms and all that. I had a conversation with them last week. They think they could do a very, very nice design, all for $50,000, but they can work with us pricing wise and come down from there. But the only thing, I think this would be a very reliable way to go. They think our room speakers are solid and they don't need to do anything with the speakers, but they would upgrade monitors so that the council has something to look at that's easy every meeting. They said they would do a Bluetooth microphone option, but they would still stick with wiring the video devices, but they would all be, built into the room where they wouldn't have to be disconnected or anything.
Could eliminate about 35 pieces of hardware, that would be helpful.
Yes, and the only other option, because I was talking to our video professional, Victor, what he would need to do to upgrade, and he has equipment he can bring from home. As you see, he does bring some in. But I don't think with some of the additional equipment he's talking about using, we're going to get the quality that we're going to get from someone coming in and redesigning the room. But I also think if they put all this new equipment in the room that he can readily use, it will lighten up the amount that the Victor has to come in, set up before a meeting and break down it after a meeting. So it's going to affect that end of the cost and labor hours for him running our meetings. And then who knows? I mean, with the AI technology, all the cameras are built with AI function. A lot of them now can trace to where the sound's coming from. We could get to a pretty automated
They
setup.
gave you a budget starting at 50,000 and we're only budgeting 10.
5 years, we'll get it.
No, I'm sorry. I had 10. I didn't have the number. I was keeping it low, but it's really 50,000 is what I would like to budget. Because I think this room is important. I think the room needs to work.
It's the biggest complaint that I hear is that people can't hear us, they can't see us. YouTube's working, or the Zoom, you know what I'm saying? It's all over the map, and we need consistency and transparency, and it's worth the investment.
Yes. Transfer your 13,000 for computer equipment over to that category to begin with.
Go ahead.
13 off the 50, and then up your rental rate per day instead of by the weekend, and compensate for it.
Yeah, and like I said, it'll make the room more appealing for people to rent. And again, if you remember with when we were adjusting our fees, everything is going to be, we're going to do one resolution with all our fees covering everything, so we can look at the rental fees with everything else. And then the last one on the general fund for capital is I have the sandbag machine. We tried to do a BBCF fundraiser. It didn't quite go very well. They didn't get nearly the numbers they thought. I stuck it in. It's been asked for a couple of years now. Right now, all we have is our attachment tool that we use on the tractor or a skid when we rent it. I have a picture of it. This is more of a hopper mechanism that with a conveyor belt to enable them to do a lot more bags, and then you would just dump the sand load per load, but it's just a lot easier to fill at a lot faster pace. So when we use the skid loader attachment, it can fit 20 bags on it, and we were getting about about 200 bags. That was about every hour or so, about 200.
That's good.
It's not too bad. We flip it up, drop it on a table, so they're all, like, tie them all together. And that's 5 guys working nonstop. This would be able to produce a lot faster production. Well, we estimated at least 6 times the production speed just on the specs that they offer. But 3 guys as opposed to using.
How do you propose to store it, and so we don't have the same issue with it falling apart because of the salt air and maintenance and all of that stuff? Is it, how long? do you
I would
expect this to
definitely,
last?
this I would protect, obviously, in our enclosed structure. I would put this one in the actual garage because it's too important to keep it running. But I
So
think
would it be on a pallet that it could easily be moved around?
I will get more information on that. I
You just
say,
went to the questions.
yeah, well, no, we
have a forklift?
we don't, we have forks for the tractor though, so, yeah, we can
Go right
I
there.
think, I have to check them out.
Pick it up easily, rather than pushing on a pallet. Be unstable.
I'll check on the weight. It looks like the legs will break down on it.
They collapse.
Yeah, but you go right underneath the main frame, that's where you pick it.
So Con, just real quick, I think it's a great idea. The biggest problem that I've seen within our city, when we do have events that need to be taken care of, a very small percentage of people that get the sandbags have no idea how to use them. It's a waste of time. I've driven up and down the streets. They're not stopping anything from coming in the doors the way most of them get them and they stick them in front of their garage door, which makes no sense. We need to train them. Pinellas County has a lot of information on their site to tell people exactly how to use the sandbags. We should make it mandatory that nobody can get a sandbag unless they've come to our several training sessions that we're going to set up in here. We could probably have the county come out here and teach it, so that when people get the sandbags, they know what to do with them and what not to do with them. Because they're just like tossing them on the ground.
They don't do anything.
I verbally, for the last 13 years, I verbally tell people you need to put a paper barrier behind the back.
But they're not doing it. That's great.
Yeah, but I tell them when I'm loading their cars.
Right.
And you can tell them, what's there, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't
Well,
make it.
I think if we made it mandatory, we're going to have 7 sessions before the hurricane season, whatever it may be. And if you haven't signed off, if we haven't checked you off, I'm not giving you a sandbag. It's a waste of time if they just throw them at the base of their garage doors.
Well,
I think that's
you
going to
see
help.
some do that, but you see some put, I tell them to go to the dollar store and just get that cheap painter's cloth, painter's plastic, put it down there. It's a sandbag will only stop the water from pushing.
Of
Okay, it
course.
won't.
But again, it's the Pinellas County Emergency Management site. They've got all that information, and they tell you, don't do these things. You're wasting your time. Do these things. So at least it's going to help someone. If we get what we got before, it's not going to help anyway.
Not to get off the subject, but boy, that person came out when we were almost out of sand, and we had a bunch of shovels, and we had piles of sand all over Gulf Boulevard. And they said, can we take a shovel? I said, well, this is the city's property. Just go home and get your own shovel. Why would I have a shovel? I have a landscape. So you can instruct them all you want,
But training them how to properly place the sandbags I think that's part of our responsibility to do everything we can.
Yeah, I know the county's got materials too that we could just give to people as well.
Put a sandbag section on the website with a link to the county resources or something.
And just, there's still houses with used sandbags
Yes.
stacked up all around.
Yes.
Gross.
Get the new tape that's out, peel it off.
Capital budget.
I bought about 4 rolls of it.
Um,
That works better than
The re-
sandbags.
the revenue on the capital side, we get a lot of the money from the infrastructure pay for Pinellas. So we get disbursements throughout the year that has to be spent on the capital infrastructure. But we also, which we're just wrapping up here, we did our last reimbursement for the Gulf Boulevard undergrounding project. So there won't be any of those until we come up with a new project.
The new pennies for Pinellas is coming out shortly, isn't it?
The last time I checked, they were in the process of coming up with the next idea. I have a timetable they gave me, it's in an email somewhere, but I haven't heard it definitively.
To offset.
So they dictate how that's to be used. I mean, is that right? If they offer it, then they tell us it has to be used for a certain project, or can we present projects that?
It's driven by a state statute, and the state statute lists the things that we can use the money for. And you can decide whether or not your projects fit within those categories. The county's not going to tell you how to do that. You're going to make that decision.
But they gave a booklet the last time and said they advise this, 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 and this. Like you said,
Since we get all the undergrounding done, we should look at what those other projects look like that could fall in that, under those categories. To be prepared, to be proactive, so if we could share that to the council, that would be nice.
Okay. Okay. Specialist. Let me check. Okay. Trying to think, special assessment, this is, I'm going to go back and check 325.
Is that the storm?
No, but it's under the stormwater fund, I just.
Tom, how long is your presentation?
Just a couple of minutes.
Oh, do you want to get him up before?
Oh, I was just trying to gauge our time.
All right, I'll come back to this. I won't forget the details. But yeah, there's a special assessment revenue, but I got to look up. I can't remember right now where that comes from. But going into the projects, this first one. Okay. So again, some of these are just upkeep, roof replacement for the community center. We continue to save for it. The flat roof is holding up. We just expect to go first. And also our gutters, as you know, have been deteriorating, but we've been removing those as they have rusted. So right now, no plans for the roof until we run into an actual maintenance issue.
Are we talking about the gutters or the downspouts on there?
I'm talking about the gutters around all the aluminum roof. Those are not aluminum, and those have been rusting away. And then my hope is that when we do have to do roof work, to look at getting good gutters at that point. But right now, we're just taking them down as they fall apart. And this is what they've been doing. They're not good material.
Kyle, could we back up a little bit? There's a question I have.
Sure.
On a couple of pages back, you're talking about replacing causeway bridge lights?
Oh, that's coming up. Yeah.
Why would that be under our expenses?
So that is every year. The prices have gone up. We've been having more and more light issues. I don't know if it's just from the storms or what, but every year, anytime the lights break down, we have to report it to Pinellas County, and then they send their staff.
We're responsible for causeway bridge lights?
We are responsible from the top to our side.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why they're different colors. in different styles.
So we're responsible. I thought they were responsible. So why can't we put a toll in there, recoup our $190,000?
we don't have
The
control over
free
the road.
passage to residents and a dollar, it would cut down the traffic.
They tried replacing some of them a few years ago on the other side, and we had a storm go through, and the railings are still bent from where the poles fell over.
Yeah, from Vermont.
Yeah.
So there's, yeah, so $10,000 a year has been covering it for bridge life use.
Nuts.
But I know this is ongoing.
There's one out, I call Kyle.
No, I knew they had to be replaced. I didn't think we paid for that. I thought that was,
Yeah, they charge us every time. Well, maybe at one point they weren't charging us as diligently, but they're definitely charging us every time now.
Nuts.
So HVAC, we continue to save for when the condensers go. But at some point, we're expecting condenser breakdown. We're going to try and stretch that life out as long as we can. Bayside Park improvements. Now, we've been saving money in here, and it's been sitting there since we were talking about a grant back in the about 2018, 2019. I was looking at this cushion overlay because we were talking about the tennis courts and the condition of the courts. I thought this might be an avenue, this overlay stuff, but they told me if there's cracking underneath and it's going to come back, it's going to deteriorate this product too, because to install it, they have to get everything smooth and filled, and with our issue, those cracks are going to return, so they said they would never put this down, because it just won't work. But that vendor is at least going to give me some other options of vendors to take a look at our court. I did call Indian Rocks Beach today just to find out if they did anything different at Brown Park. But they said no, but they gave me the guy that they use. I'm gonna.
City of Clearwater just did all of theirs up on Clear Beach, so you might check with them too, and they just did City Key.
Yeah, and I don't know what we can do long term.
It needs to be completely just rebuilt.
But if we rebuild it, is there a way we can rebuild it where it sits, it can last longer? I don't know if there's something done differently.
Call an expert.
Yeah.
They'll tell you.
So that was an idea, but that right now I don't have a solution for. Morgan Park improvements, we continue to save. We did the asphalt resurface on the parking lot a few years ago, or 2 years ago, I think it was. This is the last time this project sheet will be in here, just because, I guess, to let the funding show. And then that'll be it until they create another penny program. We'll find out what that information is. So street resurfacing, I put a lot of money in the next year, but it doesn't need to be done. I want to pull up a project sheet of where we're sitting and what's left. So this, on our original street index, this is kind of where we ended up. We still have some of the hibiscus to do, Belle Isle, and all the little side streets have not been done. And then this one as well, Bayshore Drive, when we did the projects on the numbered streets, Bayshore was the one that did not get done. The pavement was in slightly better condition. I put this because it's still on our to be done list. Residents on these streets have asked me when the paving is going to get done. It won't be able to get done until we budget enough money to do it. If we were to do all of these streets and all of these streets, leaving us just these, which are in the best condition besides the newest, that's how much we would need on the asphalt side in the next year to pave. This is one of those things that I wanted to show what the numbers would be if we were to do paving on those streets in this next year. But again, it's something that could be pushed out. But that's just where we stand on that. And I did similar, which I'll show you on the stormwater account for the curbing. Because to me, if we're going to resurface the streets, either we're gonna resurface them for the sake of getting the asphalt in better condition and leave the curbs that are functional in the condition they are, or to me, replace all the curbs so that they're aesthetically pleasing with the new road. Because kind of piecemealing it is not gonna work. So I put it in there. It's definitely something that can be moved out of this year's budget, but I wanted to show what that cost would be if we were going to move forward with paving the rest of those streets. And this is just our old CIP from last year. It's got a lot of the previous projects, but I haven't added the new stuff on it yet. I just wanted to show it to show where we were at on the streets. We talked about this tonight, the bridge repair versus the bridge replacement. I was going to move the numbers accordingly to what we discussed moving forward with the repair plan. Harrison Avenue Bridge repairs. We haven't had to do any major repairs on that bridge since the last seawalls and embankments were done. And they did a full inspection last year, and that was the first one that was done since the repairs, and it passed in great condition. So we're still looking good on that bridge, just keeping a plan to save money going towards when it needs repairs. And then kind of the same idea here with the replacement. We know that bridges are significant costs, but still just putting money towards it someday, knowing that we're going to have to replace that bridge. Here's the bridge lighting replacement. Okay, so I got 12,000. I think we stayed right around 10 and change. Look that up. City street lighting program. This one, I'm not adding more funds to it this year. We have a pretty good amount set aside. What we are, I'm experimenting with the solar light we've installed over at the circle here. I like the light. I want to see experiment with how much it can throw, like at full percentage. But it dials right into the phone app. You can control from the computer. Seems to function, but like while I went out there, tested it, turned it on. We did the install. That was pretty simple. You know, just embed it into the ground. Lift the equipment up. Once the pole is set, just put the one piece on top. A little heavy, but we can adjust and do that in-house. But I am still looking at. I just recently had a request on Harrison Avenue towards the east end, the cul-de-sac, for more light. To pilot a program, what I'm looking to do is put together something where if someone lives on the street, they feel like there's not enough light, they can go on the website, they can put in the interest to more street light or some kind of program so that we can come out, we can look at where a street light could go, we can put together some proposals of locations, talk to the neighbors, find out what's going to be best for that neighborhood, and then sort of do the installs like that. There's this one on Harrison. I'm going to give them the option to look at the Duke option versus the new solar. But positive, and using that location, if they do like the solar option up there, is that one control link on a solar light can control 30 lights within a mile. So we got a control link there that can control almost all the way up to Harrison, probably around like Morgan, but that's an ideal location on the north end of the city to control the rest of the city as far as the solar link. Still gonna check into upkeep and long-term planning if this is a viable option, but that's just kind of what I'm piloting my vision for how a streetlight program would work.
What's the cost of each?
Right now, we're about $8,000 per light.
That's quite a few lights.
And not everybody likes light. Some people like light for safety, other people are very against light, and that's why it's very touchy. I feel like each one of these, when there's a light request, we need to talk to people, kind of like when we were doing with the median on Harrison.
Just quickly is two things, is that Harrison light, you know, that we lost that fixture when the pole snapped in half.
Okay.
And so there was a fixture and Duke never replaced it.
Okay.
So just in case this isn't the solar one's not an option. And then two, the bell light at the crossing north of Harrison Avenue turns out
Oh,
it
the
has
signal?
has been for quite a while.
And there's still, what, one street light on all of Ninth? Is that right?
Probably, that's one of the darkest.
Yeah, that's the one that needs it more than anyone.
On which street?
Ninth Street.
Yeah,
It's because they don't have power.
that's front.
Yeah.
We're just talking right now about the light fixture itself, pretty much, right? Not the pole.
So with Duke, you can, if they have an existing pole, they can easily just put a light fixture on one and then wire it, and then you pay just the install fee and then an ongoing rental fee for that equipment.
Okay.
With the solar option, we'd own the whole light, we'd install it ourselves, and then we would maintain it, kind of like we're doing for Pelio State Island, but these lights are a lot
So when you say
better
behind the whole
design.
light, would that be inclusive of the pole?
Inclusive of the pole, everything, all one.
Okay.
Because
Because I know we have discussed before, trying to put an effort in to maintain aesthetically the same type of poles and everything possible. I just think it makes the city look better. But we have some parts of town that already have very, very nice poles out there. If there's a way, we could replicate that perhaps. Just so at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of towns you drive through and like all of the light poles are the same. Looks really, really, really nice.
I would, if we go in the direction of solar, I would lean towards the newer technology because this improved so much since those original solar lights.
And if we go that way, you're saying that it's inclusive of the pole typically?
That's inclusive of the pole, yeah. So the pole comes on the truck, you put the pole in first, and then once that's set, it's just lifting up the rest of the equipment and getting it on top in position.
But to your point,
That,
I would continue saving, I would continue to put some funds in there.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I slowed up because of trying to develop how to do this and the
But once
options.
you perfect it, then you're gonna be ready to make some, decisions. And
Yeah, and I like, one thing that came up with the previous solar options is that, just maintaining their look, and, over 10 years or so, they start fading. The nice thing about these, but I want to talk to them about what it's going to look like for our upkeep, is the way that they're designed. They don't have the solar panels built on the poles, so like there's a lot less equipment spread out, where if we replace the fixture and the top piece, and like as far as refurbishing the pole is basically a paint job, and everything else kind of gets transitioned out as the parts wear and tear. So
Just remember, if we do a mass rollout, we're not hiring a dock company to install.
oh right, so we don't have the gas lines.
What's that? Yeah, gas line, water line, power line, cable line.
Well, when we did that one, and if we do another, we'll be hand digging. Like, that's the best way to do it. I mean, if we were gonna do multiple, we'd still have to be extremely careful because,
Yeah.
the locates are never exactly where they say they are. Okay. Oh, here's this is just a picture of it lit, but as you can see, the pole itself is pretty easy to keep maintained. It's just, I'll talk to them about kind of like this breaking down, but it's just a more compact unit that I think is going to be easier in the long run to.
The county put something like that on the north end at the crosswalk.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
For some reason, it just looks familiar.
Okay, seawalls, I started saving more aggressively. We have 5 of the original concrete design walls still. We got 2nd Street, Belle Isle, Hibiscus, 20th Street, and 25th. And then the rest are refurbished seawalls. So I expect that we're going to have to replace those in the future. I don't know exactly the timeline, but I wanted to get those oldest walls looked at by a structural engineer to kind of give us a plan. But I started saving more aggressively because since the storms, a lot of people are concerned about old seawalls and failures.
And the little parks still have, like the one on Hibiscus, no, on.
Yeah, that little,
Yeah, the little one.
yep, that little short one.
Yeah, on whatever that road is,
Mhm.
Hibiscus, yeah.
And if you look at these older seawalls as well, they're sold, but they just are low elevation. And a lot of the caps around them are higher, so it would fortify just general wall of properties if we get ours up as well. We have enough to replace a fishing dock right now. There's no need to save anymore because there's no docks to be replaced right now, so I stopped on that. Here's the access ramp. Construction, I think I'm on, being right around 20,000, but the surveying and the engineering is going to be a little more on the higher side. Hopefully the surveying is more like 10 grand, but I have noticed that our surveying fees have been increased even by Shimp, who's he's well known, but still not the most expensive, and even his are going up significantly. So the idea here would basically to get the design for an equipment ramp, and again, this would be a heavy-duty ramp for full-size equipment to come down from our parking lot down into the yard area. And then, the money would have to go into getting all the surveying and design to make sure everything fits and it's put together correctly. But I do believe with the construction cost, we would not have to bid this project. So with a good design, it's something that we could shop around for and get it done, bid it. Advanced crosswalk signals. I put these in. The county gave me a price. We have 4 crosswalks on Golf Boulevard. If we were going to do more advanced signaling with the purpose of increasing awareness and safety, so that reduce the chance of an accident. There's been a lot of I think every year when spring break comes through, we get more traffic in the area, but this year has been significant. People concerned about speed, crossings, and just general danger. We have the county coming next meeting to give us a presentation of all their latest collected data, but they gave me the price for some advanced signaling, and I put that in there for consideration.
Tom, just real quick, so what 4 streets would that be?
That would be at 6th Street, at 12th, 13th, at Morgan Park, and Harrison.
Okay, and 19?
And,
19th, there's one, right?
19th, there is one.
Yeah,
12, 13
that'd be
is one.
19.
12, 13.
12, 13 is 1, 19 is 1,
Right.
40 is 1.
Yeah.
Morgan.
So Morgan,
Oh, nice.
19th, 12th, and 6th?
I think I got 5. No, because I got Morgan 2. Right? 6th
Would that be
Street.
here?
I don't know.
Harrison-
Harrison
Morgan, 19th, 12th, and
And
6th.
sixth.
So there's
Oh.
5. There's
There
5.
is 5. Yeah.
So we need to change that to 60?
Yeah. If we like them.
I'd
But
almost rather see another crosswalk, but that's the.
and then this is
People aren't going to
gonna
stop around stopping, but I'm not going to them that now. We'll talk about it later.
this would be in conjunction. We're looking at the speed. We got a lot of data coming in to look at that. Golf Boulevard is either 30 or 35 depending on where you're at, and some people think our area should be 30 versus 35, but we want to present it to everyone and get the community input on that. All right. See out here, now we're in the stormwater.
Did you just take your presentation away, Tom?
Okay, so we're still all running the same amount of assessment fees. Stormwater repairs, I'm keeping it at 50,000. I expect that we're getting to the point now where we're coming up on about 10 years since we started installing these WAPRO valves, and some of them are getting old, where they're needing to be replaced.
How much is a valve?
Depending on the size, we just did a 15 and it was in the $7,000 range for a 15 inch. And that one came up on right about 10 years.
I know the hour is late, but I have to compliment our city staff. We had one of the highest high tides this past week. I went down all the streets at the high tide. We came in at 3.6. It usually never goes above 3.3. Not a drop of water in the streets.
We didn't need a
Guys,
pump.
That was Aaron and
We didn't
Brady.
need a pump after all.
Well, I mean, you would have, I mean, could you imagine if a storm would have came in at 10 o'clock and rain with a 3.6, it would have never gone out till 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, so that street did very well in the last go around. Other streets, we're seeing where there is some water coming back, not to the full extent where the valve is not working at all, but we're aware that it's starting to let water recede back in, so we're monitoring that. Let's see. So, get to the two projects. So this 660 would be the price of the valley curbside for all those roads at our current pricing.
And that's it. Oh.
Yeah, that's the best way. So I just put that in there for consideration. But also on the stormwater, we have, we gotta do some work at the 4th Street outfall, which I have a picture of. So this one, the valve is in the pipe, and we're positive the valve is sealed to the end of the pipe, but the problem is this whole area around the RCP is, you know, it's like caved and caverned in, where we're worried about the structural integrity of this outfall coming and where it sits in the ground, because every time this water comes up and fills the cavity and then washes out, it's undermining, it's causing this rear property to be more and more unstable where we have a stormwater pipe. So this is something I got some preliminary numbers on. It could, we want to look at it and figure out how we can get more supported concrete in there while working in the environment, the tidal environment, because the cofferdams and getting the water out to do the work is what seems to make these jobs pricey. The valve, in looking at the size of the pipe, the room in the pipe, I have Gemini, they're going to give me some numbers, but we can move the valve to the inlet box to prevent the backflow in that location, but it doesn't change this problem here at the seawall. So this is what, in stormwater, if we could do this as a lighter repair, that would be ideal. It's something like in the $50,000 range, but in looking at what's involved with the, you know, having to do the damming situation when we looked at those before, it could be a pricier job.
Is that our property, that seawall, or is that someone's backyard?
That's someone's backyard, and we just have a drainage easement. So we had prior year funding we had 200 in there. We didn't do anything with last year. We don't need to add anything more outside of taking care of this issue, but we don't need to budget it now. I mean, it could be something we address later, but I'm trying to anticipate the possible cost for the coffer dam. And then, construction. We're anticipating around like 200,000. If we got to go the full 9 yards with damming it off and then, paving down and pouring concrete in.
Keep it in the budget, I think we need to allow for it.
So we'll start on the engineering side of an investigation, and then I'll have our staff move that valve, so at least we get the backflow stopped.
They'll probably be replacing their seawall in the process, but.
Yeah.
replacing the seawall.
But I'm worried with how far that we gotta get in there.
The problem is when they put the sheeting in, and they drove the sheeting, they drove it sideways. I don't know if there was a connection there.
And then on planning side, this would be anticipation to try and get a 75-25 grant. But it's a watershed management grant, but the idea to put it'd be like 60,000 our share if we were to get this grant. But it would give us an update to our overall planning for stormwater in the city. So I think this is important, and it's definitely something, if we can get it, worthwhile for the funding, at least to give us ideas and projections of where we're going. And with what I'm seeing is that there's a lot more areas in the city that a 3.6, these king tides are showing in drains that they didn't used to. So I think that we need to plan down the road of where these valves need to continue to go, and then also the upkeep of
So
all
the
the
grant
valves that
money-
we're going to maintain.
Grant money can be used for the valves, is that what you're saying? Or-
Grant money
No.
mostly is going to be for just the planning, but there's money out there, and this seems like something we can get our hands on.
The
So.
budget part, yeah.
And if not, in the next update, we can look at pump force systems, but more so than anything, I think we need to look at all the outfalls, where we're at as far as where we got valves and how long they've been there, and then the overall upkeep of, are all these outfalls going to eventually have valves, and then how are we going to replace them throughout?
Did that underground guy ever get back to you with the price?
No. No. And like, that's when I said future pump or well project, I kept that idea in there too, but that's, ongoing, we're just looking at different ideas. And then the Marina Fund, this is our enterprise fund. We reached all of our rate increases, or our annual total is currently 68,000. We do the upkeep of the marina utilities and then keep saving for dock catwalk replacements. But until there's a major, if it's like a tide bowl and it's a slip that Susan lifts, then if the piling goes, we're not replacing it. We're kind of letting them deteriorate. But at some point, we're planning, we're have to do catwalk and piling overall.
Can we impose an assessment on the users of the marina for the work that needs to be done? I know we charge them a fee, but I mean, I don't know, the fee's their rental fee. Why do we have to do these expensive repairs for people that don't use the marina?
So the money, like, we typically will transfer money from the Marina Fund back into our general fund. So we're in the black, like, where the rental fees are covering the upkeep on a regular year. But at some point, there's going to have to be some work on those catwalks, and possibly just just depending on where everything's at, when we need to get it done. But it will involve, we'll get everybody out of their slips so we can, you know what I mean? I'm trying to let it kind of go deteriorate, but then upkeep it as we go, and then with a plan to do a major overhaul.
So we're transferring out, am I looking at this, $60,000 to the general fund the rest of the money is used for expenses at the marina?
Actually, yes, typically that's what's coming out, is 60 when it's all said and done. On an average year. But I did have to increase utilities because they are slowly creeping up.
And they don't pay their utilities either, that comes out of their monthly rent.
Yeah, so we have to watch that transfer and how it's affected.
Still a bargain for these guys, that's all I can say, maybe we revisit rents.
Could be. Did it over the last 5 years and now we're coming.
Can you go back to the slip reservations?
Let's see.
That one right there. So we have 5 non-residents, and they pay premium for being non-residents. Yep. That's the monthly rent? That's cheap.
Right?
I think there's an opportunity for some.
Additional revenue.
Yeah.
Not been that long since we increased them, though, has it?
No, I remember it's spread out over a number of
20
years.
to 25, we did increases.
Yeah.
10 feet per foot, 20-foot minimum, 15 feet.
And wasn't that increase supposed to last for about 4 or 5 years or something?
I wonder what it's worth if you saw it was permanent.
We can't.
Yeah.
It was donated.
Is there still a waiting list?
Yeah.
Yes.
I go 20 and 25, but that's just my opinion.
Do we ever do a market comparison?
Yeah.
If they had to go somewhere else?
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
We don't offer the amenities that other marinas get for that type of price.
Oh, we offer proximity.
Yeah, what I was paying up in Wisconsin for 6 months was $600 a month
Yeah, but that's Wisconsin.
on a lake.
I didn't know they had an ocean.
How big
Well,
is
it
the-
comes with cheese though.
Well, that's a project we can look at.
In the form of curds, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And you get those at Culver's.
Still do.
Okay.
Okay, so we're done with the marina fund then?
Yeah, I'm trying to get you.
Now that we're all ready to gouge all the tenants.
I think that puts us back in the departmentals that, yeah. Yeah, we're back in the departmental. The one thing, I budgeted 5% merit increase for all staff. I did one step increase where I believe it's deserved, and that is the executive assistant. And we looked at some of the market values. There. So my current is executive assistant. The salary we're at, there we go. Just open. No.
It was open for a second.
Yeah, just for
Well, I had some comparisons. I can't quite go down, but my point is, right now, the salary is about 69. With a 5% step increase, it'll get it to 71. But that position is much more like a hybrid executive position. And what I was trying to do, here's my comments. But I have more of a summary. Oh, there we go. So she supports multiple departments, and when I compared this, and she's been in the position for 1.5 years. So this would take from 68 to 71. But I feel like the reasonable market range of what this position is, if you look at over in the county, because it's a hybrid position of multiple departments, basically everything I cover, she also has to cover as my executive assistant. So when I looked at these ranges, we talked about it at the last evaluation for this position, And I said that it was something I would consider when I do the budgeting, and I think that this is warranted.
I think everybody here would agree with you.
Yeah. I just wanted to present that to you. And that, and again, like I said, every other position, the 5% standard merit with budgeting for. And that is all I have for budget.
Okay.
This workshop.
And you've got your notes where we made comments, so take it away, Tom. This is very important. Let's get this taken care of,
So a
because
couple-
we'll all go home.
A couple of months ago, the city started receiving some requests or comments relative to the speed that has been posted on Gulf Boulevard. And so there was a need to review how posting of that speed limit came about. To give you some background, there is a state statute that governs how speed limits are set in the state. Municipal speed limits can vary. The statute that governs this is Florida Statute 316.189. One of the things that when we look at the statute is determine whether or not the road itself is a local road or whether it is a county-maintained road. Gulf Boulevard is a county-maintained road. As a direct result of that, there is some language in the statute that allows the county commission to alter the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit, both as to maximum and minimum after investigation. So the question came about as to how, if the maximum speed in any municipality is 30 miles per hour, how do we have our portion of Gulf Boulevard posted at 35 miles per hour? So when that question was first raised to me, of course, I look at the statute, and the statute allows for that to happen so long as the county does it, and the county does it through an investigation. Kyle reached out to the county and specifically talked to Mr. Washburn, and he advised that he had done some research and determined and cannot find anything that would substantiate a move from 30 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour, and basically took the position that the city is in control of that section of Gulf Boulevard and should establish a speed limit that you wanted to establish on it. If you established it at 30 miles per hour, it would require no additional activity on your part other than, in my mind, to adopt an ordinance that would set that rate so it could be enforced by the Pellis County Sheriff's Office. And that ordinance, of course, would require 2 public hearings and public notice. You may also want to, if you want to do that, to have your own investigation done and to determine whether or not there actually is a speeding problem. If you slow the speed, I'm sure some transportation experts will say then that you're going to have backup on Gulf Boulevard, just like you would if you had all these pedestrian crossings across Gulf Boulevard. But that's your determination as to the direction that you want to go relative to the speed limit. I'm not sure how many people are actually talking about this issue. I know there's one that I'm aware of.
And that person believes that we are out of compliance, and I want you to confirm that we are not out of compliance.
You're not out of compliance.
You can actually raise it.
Correct.
Yeah, there is some language in the statute about raising it higher, but not to exceed 60 miles an hour, believe it or not. And if you lower it down to 20 or 25 miles per hour, the statute requires you to do an investigation. It doesn't tell you what that is, but I assume it would be a transportation individual hired who was an expert to do some type of monitoring of that section of the road in your city. So the question is whether or not that there is a need or a want to change it. And if so, do you want any particular investigation or reporting or testing to be done before you do it? And if you don't, then we could just prepare the ordinance and then have it back before the public to receive comments as to whether or not the public has opposition to reducing that speed down to 30.
Who pays for the new signs?
The city would be responsible for paying for the new signs, and obviously, if you were to change it, the posting of the sign is a requirement in the ordinance that you would post it down to 30. I'm not really sure what the requirements are as to how often those posted signs are. We could do a little bit of research on that. I don't personally know, but obviously, we want to follow what the requirements of the law is relative to how far we space those apart once you make that change from 35 down to 30, if that's what you want to do.
I think you had to do an eighth of a mile or a quarter of a mile, but now we wouldn't have to do anything going north because Indian Ranch is already 30.
You just do it in your speed limit, in your city. So I think that as you come into the city of Bel Air Beach, you want to post it each direction and within a certain period or certain locations on that street.
And so I guess the question is what does the council want to do? Do we want to create an ordinance and discuss it and debate it and let the public speak on it? Or do we just leave things alone? What's the general consensus here?
Tom's going to give his presentation next meeting. Tom Washburn. Yes.
Could you ask Tom, there a few years ago, he did a study, a speed study, and and in the study, he found that very few cars were exceeding the speed limit.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember.
And so we chose to maintain it at
Did
30.
he do the study for the whole golf course?
Yes.
Or just
This
or
comes
just
up
The entire
about
golf
every other term.
Session, right.
It comes up.
Right.
And we go through this thing every time.
I don't know.
Then we
if
did
Tom
the thing
has
with the causeway.
the time that they set it at 35, and we've been trying to find the information on that.
It was, Glenn Dunn was on council at the time, he might have been the mayor, but there was a speed study done, they actually had people out there counting cars. It was a big event, I mean,
It was.
they had several spots along Gulf Boulevard, both north and south of the causeway, people out there counting cars. I think there were 2 people stationed at each speed monitoring system that they placed, and we determined there were very few cars that were exceeding the speed limit.
Oh, I would be on board with it since I live on Gulf Boulevard.
Yeah,
There's a big difference between people driving in Indian Rocks and once they hit ours.
They just
they speed
floor it.
up.
Literally.
They go, man.
Yeah.
Well, they increased coming out of Indian Rocks.
Right.
By you.
Yeah. No-
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what increased coming over the hill from Miller Plus.
I think it's just human nature too. We all understand, right, wrong, or otherwise, that this, just pick a number. If it's 30, people will typically feel comfortable driving 35 without getting a ticket. If it's 35, people will feel comfortable driving 40 without getting a ticket. One of the things that I think is absolutely ridiculous is we have a bridge that has 2 different speed limits. So I would be in favor of doing the 30 throughout the city, including up the ramp going across the bridge, so that would be 30 the whole bridge, because I think people, especially the direction we're going, you're going 35, you hit the top of the bridge, and then it changes to 30. It takes a while to get back to 30, and there's people right on your rear end, and I'm going, I'm slowing down, and they're almost hitting me. So I'm just personally in favor. I think 30 makes more sense because what we just talked about, people coming from Indian Rocks Beach, going 30, and then when they see the 35, they're thrilled and they speed up.
We are the only 35 in the entire.
Yeah.
I'd say we go for consistency with all the neighboring communities.
Yes, I'm with you.
They're still at that, I'm pretty sure they're still at 35.
Years ago, Forward Pinellas wanted to make sure the speed limit from all the way down at the end, all the way up to Clearwater would be 30. And it never came about that anybody did it.
It's different.
And it's a reflection of the volume too. If we have a lot of volume going out there, and whoever's in front of the volume is driving slower, then everybody has to slow down. And if they're driving faster, then everybody's driving faster.
Man, if they drive at 30, they will get passed in the turn lane.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had people
All the
drive
time,
on the
man.
But
right-hand
that's
side
an
coming over
enforcement
the bridge.
opportunity too.
All right, so we're going to listen to the presentation at the next meeting, and then we'll talk about this some more, and then we'll make an ordinance or not. and we'll go from there. Would anyone like to go home?
Motion to go home.
No. Second.
I have a second. All right.
If you want to go faster.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much for staying late. I know I normally
Some of
have
them
a hard,
electric bikes are going